You sneaky. You're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
Is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Come on. Come on. Really?
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly.
Let's give the people what they came for.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows out.
Elbows up.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Ready? Are you ready? Get them out of here! Get them out of here! Get the hell out of here!
Enough with the woke shit!
So the answer to that is to stop being stupid.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
Is the federal government stealing from us? Are they sabotaging our industry? Are they taking us down the path to communism? Are they censoring us? Are they stealing our guns from us? Come on, let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Good afternoon, everybody. It seems like a really weird time for a live, but you know what? What I have to talk about today, I didn't think warranted a video, so I said, you know what? Let's try a midday live stream, a random mid-afternoon live stream. Guys, or I guess it's still morning for some. Hit the like button. I'll put on the same rules as we put on for any other stream. If you hit the like button, if we get 1,000 likes, and I'll even say at any point during this stream, I won't do the midway because those are planned shows. Get 1,000 likes, we'll do a giveaway. While we're here, we'll do a merch giveaway. There's some things we got to unpack here. There's some things we got to talk about, and I'm just going to give it a minute for the room to fill up. I'm going to allow people to get in here. Apparently, YouTube's not notifying people, so we're gonna just give it a second. Why don't we? We normally don't do it on surprise streams. Why don't we do a little bit of a roll call? And I know there's only just under a couple hundred people in here. Let's get a roll call going on. We'll get that chat moving and get us out in that algorithm. Let me know where you're watching from. If it is your first time here, which I doubt it is for a lot of people, let me know in the chat and we'll go through it. Look at you guys. You guys are such troopers here. I love it. Debbie coming in from Calgary. Welcome in. Anne coming in from Edmonton. Good to have you here. We've got Todd coming in from Stettler. We've got Steve Goodman coming in from Brazeau County. Nicole's coming in from London, Ontario. Hope you're having a great day. We've got Oliver coming in from Utica. Wow. Utica. That's impressive. Vox Guitar Rocks coming in from Ontario as well. Good to have you in here. We've got Augustus from Toronto. Hockey Fans is in from Calgary. Kenneth is in from Minnesota. I got to do it. I got to do it because we do it on all of our live shows. I love our American viewers. You guys are wonderful. We have the best American viewers here on the platform. We got Fight to the End coming in from Regina, Saskatchewan. I always have to say it too. You know what rhymes with Regina? Fun. Mysticals on my roof. I'm glad you still got your notifications. Welcome in. Brett is tuning in from Florida. Tony's coming in from Calgary. We've got David Brewer. He's always here. He's such a trooper coming in from Springfield, Missouri. David's coming in from Tabor. Soda and Minnie's coming in from Stettler, Alberta. Lorraine's watching from Northern Ontario. Look at Reg coming in from Stony Plain. Thank you for joining us. We got Grumpy Albertan coming in from Vulcan, Alberta. Yes, it is a real town. For anybody who doesn't know, Vulcan is an actual real town. Rhonda's joining us from Spruce Grove. Welcome in. We got William coming in from Ohio. Damien's joining us from Smoky Lake County. Dale coming in all the way from Florida. Gotta love. Oh, I love our American viewers. You guys are wonderful American viewers. You're wonderful. You're the best. Believe me. Norma's coming in from Calgary. Arakabar is coming in from the GTA in Southern Ontario. Bearded Outlaw is coming in from Midland, Texas. Gina James coming in from Stony Creek, Ontario. You know, it's funny when we hear about Midland, Texas. My wife and I, hypothetically, we're looking at properties in and around Houston, Katy, Texas. And I got to be honest, it's very appealing. Very appealing to say, if independence doesn't take in Alberta, maybe it's time to go to Texas. The houses we could get for what we'd be taking down there. It really is difficult, especially with my wife working in oil and gas, to try and say, do we pack up and move to the United States? Look, the cost to move, immigration lawyers, all of that, I think it's way too high. We'd lose 40 cents on our dollar at this point. Huge sacrifice to make, and uproot the kids and drive everybody south, being away from family. Very difficult decision. I don't think we could ever do it, but my God, Texas is beautiful. Max coming in right off the gates, $20 super chat. Listening, not watching, though, while driving on my way to Foremost. So many beautiful Alberta flags on Highway 3. I love hearing that, Max. Thank you so much. Please keep your eyes on the road. Drive safe. We need your live streams. Houston is woke. Yeah, I was looking at a place called, we were looking at a place called Katy, Texas. Apparently they got really good schools. So we said, well, good schools is good for the kids. I don't know where's right and wrong in Texas. Forgive me. I'm not huge on American geography. But Quartzsite, Arizona, where you need to visit on your next vacation. You know, we're going to go down to the United States. My family inherited some airline vouchers from a family member that were given to us because they weren't going to use them. They're not going to be traveling. So our vacation for next year was bought and paid for. And we kind of said, well, we'll take that. We'll take advantage of it. So we're going to go down to the United States. We said, no, people don't want you going to the United States. We're going to travel to the United States. The room's filling up. This is great, guys. Keep hitting that like button. Again, if we get 1,000 likes in this stream, I'll do a giveaway. Because I got to talk about some stuff. And listen, people probably, even if you're watching this after the live stream, there's people that probably aren't going to like this stream, how it's going to start out. We are going to talk about some politics. We're going to talk about, but I didn't think that this warranted a video, because look, the people who come to these streams are usually the hardcore audience. You guys are usually the audience that shows up for all of our live streams. So let's get into it. There's a lot of problems in Canada right now. One of the main concerns people have is censorship. Mark Carney censorship bills. When we talked about C9, we talked about C34. C9 was essentially brought in as hate speech laws. We've had to retool our live streams as a result. There's things that we're either too intimidated to put on the stream or talk about, for the simple reason that, hey, we don't want to have the channel shut down. We don't want to take away the opportunity for people to get information from Unacceptable Fringe. When it comes to Bill C-34, we start talking about algorithmic suppression. We start talking about how the government essentially is going to say that any criticism against them is hate speech. Surveillance state, essentially. It's a scary time. One of the biggest problems I have on this channel is self-censorship. And I have to share something because I've been up stewing about it all night after last night's live stream. Some things came in. And I want to make it crystal clear. I have to talk about a comment that was left on last night's live stream. This is not a sympathy thing. This is not, oh, gee, I can't handle criticism. Because this isn't the first time I've seen this. So I got to bring it up, and we got to talk about it, because I now have to censor myself on this channel because of, bigger problems. And we're going to go over that. But I have to bring up this comment in order to address what has to be censored. So last night I brought up a clip of Alberta Radio, how he was essentially pushing people away from voting by saying that the voting system in Alberta could be corrupt, that we could see mail-in ballots being used fraudulently, even though we've gone through the security measures of those mail-in ballots. It's a process that I feel like, first off, we don't get a lot of requests for mail-in ballots in these processes. I've told people, look out for the numbers for the mail-in ballots. I'm not saying that Elections Alberta isn't corrupt or that they're not doing things incorrectly. We went over that as well. But I got this comment. I don't like it. But I don't remove comments from my comment section. Derek, the information put forward by Alberta Radio is no worse than your rants regarding boomers. If you ever had to look around at any of the numerous town halls, you would know that boomers make up 90% of attendees. Yeah, I've been to a lot of town halls. I don't know if you guys know this. Just like Max over at Freedom Calendar, I've driven all over Alberta for the last year to represent those who want change. I've put countless kilometers or miles on my vehicle, driving all across Alberta. Look at the huge number of boomers that sat in the cold as canvassers. Your rants against Alberta boomers just drives us away from supporting independence. And that's not the first time I've heard that. Your rants against others are being pretty hypocritical, and you need to curb your accusations. You have no right to criticize others when you are damaging the movement yourself. This is not the first time I've heard this. I said I've never once said Alberta boomers. I've always said liberal boomers. Holy crap, you people are so sensitive. To which it was, sorry, not always. You need to review what you've said. John Bolton is just as bad. Why don't you go off on the 18 to 50-year-olds? They don't show up for anything. So I'm not going to argue with somebody on the internet. I'm not going to argue with somebody on the internet about silly comments. This leads into a bigger problem. Yeah, I've talked about boomers because I deal with my father in the background. He's a boomer. Let's just show why I'm talking about boomers so people understand. You guys remember this guy, the Brantford boomer? You guys remember the display he put on during the last federal election? He's even been branded. You can see it over here in the disrespectful Brantford boomer may be costing the Liberals the federal election. Well, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, people have made memes about it. The Brantford boomer. This was the symbolism of what Mark Carney represented in the last federal election. Those in a place like Brantford that's overrun with migrants giving the finger to the camera and saying, I have my home, I have my investments, I get to dress nice, I don't have to worry about the cost of food because I've got everything secure, my pension, everything else. And when I talk about the boomers, when I talk about these guys, I'm essentially talking about people that say, oh, it's the past or the younger generations are lazy. The younger generation, I had a house when I was 22 years old. I had, we only had one income in the household and we were able to make things get by. We were able to make ends meet. You guys are just lazy. What I'm talking about are people that always think they know better than the last generations. Yes, liberal boomer. This is what I'm talking about. People that have no clue what's actually happening in the world. And like that comment mentions, yeah, there are people in my generation that want to bitch and moan, but they don't show up on election day. There's millennials who think that they're entitled to universal basic income. They can just sit around and get free welfare, free handouts. And don't even get me started on Gen Zs. The problem is we need a shift in our politics. Now, I will say right here, right now on this live stream, I will never use the word boomer again. Because I have in fact been censored on this channel. I have put in a ton of work into the independence movement. Some podcasters said that I muscled my way in. No, I live in Alberta. I want Alberta to break away from the shackles of the federal government. I want people to be prosperous, even boomers. But I've put in a lot of work. And to be told that I'm ruining the movement, that I'm pushing people away, that one of two things has to happen. Either I step back from independence altogether and just vote on the 19th and keep my mouth shut, or I have to self-censor myself. And this leads to the bigger problem we have in this country right now. It leads into the massive problem we have in this country. And that's reality. There's people out there getting upset because they want to break free from the federal government. They want to get away from things, but they don't want to hear the truth. What they want to hear is catered information, padded information, censored information. I want independence. I want to get away from our Carney. I don't like the liberals. I don't like it. But as soon as you say something that offends me, like the word boomer, well, I'm not going to have any part of that because I don't want to deal with reality. I want what I want to hear, not what reality is. Now, we showed John talking to Albertans at the Forever Canada event because somebody yelled at me, stop jumping all over the boomers. And we went through that video clip. In fact, I'll bring it up again. I'll bring it up again because I certainly don't want anybody to think I'm misrepresenting. Why is it doing this? Oh, here we go. It's still queued up from the last time. Let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. So as we go through this video, I said this place was full of boomers in a live stream. So as we go through and we look at the audience, we look at the crowd, there's somebody who's probably in my generation over here. There's a millennial by the looks of it over here. But elderly, 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 elderly. Right? Let's scan over a little bit more, away from this line. Elderly. Elderly. Like these people are saying you can't look at elderly, 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 elderly. I'm talking about a statistic. We're not talking about criminalizing people. We're not talking about people that every single boomer is the problem. We're saying that statistically, those who don't have to worry about the current climate, the current economic policies that are being put in place by the government, those who have secured their future by whatever means possible, are the problem, that they don't want to listen to reason. I'm not villainizing a generation of people. What we're talking about is the fact that people are too blind to see the real problems because it doesn't affect them. Now, as somebody who's a Gen X, my generation is struggling. My generation, and it's not to say boomers aren't struggling, but my generation is struggling. My generation is full of debt. My generation lives check to check. There are some in my generation who have a silver spoon, that have been lucky, that are fortunate. But I don't know too many people in my generation that have their mortgage paid for or investments, statistically. If you talk about anybody younger than myself, hell no, they're not even close. So what are we talking about? We're talking about people who don't want to see corrupt government because their mortgages are paid, they're retired, they did things the right way, I guess. They are selfish people. So I appreciate this comment. I'm a boomer, but I know what the problem. How about their kids and grandkids? Wake up, boomers. So their kids and grandkids are part of the problem because this generation is also poisoning that younger generation to adopt their way of thinking, their way of life. So I'm not criminalizing all boomers. When we're talking about I'm talking about a generation of people that have struggled through past decades, but they don't see the problem now because they don't have to deal with the high cost of rent. They don't have to deal with $3,000 mortgages. They don't have to deal with sky-high insurance rates. If any of them need something, and it's funny because I actually spoke with a family member who talked to me about the Canadian medical system or the Alberta medical system and I said, if I go to the emergency room, I'm waiting around 8 hours just to see a doctor. There's people dying in the emergency rooms because they can't see a doctor. And this person said to me, yeah, well, when I was diagnosed with cancer, immediate scans. You don't understand how this medical system works until you actually need something critical. And I said, you know what? You got a point. You got a point. I don't know that part of the system. I know the part of the system that needs fixing. I know the part of the system that I've seen. But the majority of these people don't go to the emergency room. They're told by their doctor, you need to see a specialist. You need to get a scan. Something critical is happening. So again, they don't see the problems with the medical system. And I'm talking again about people who are living on Easy Street, people who, and this is going to be the largest problem when it comes to the voting, folks, in the referendum, is that those who are voting to stay in Canada aren't looking at the economy. They're not looking at the dollar dropping in value because they're anti-Trump. They don't want a vacation in America. They're not looking at the cost of groceries because for them, groceries may have just increased by $30 or $40 a week. It doesn't bother them. It doesn't affect them. When they don't have a mortgage to pay or when they don't have high property taxes to worry about, they just say, well, it's just the way things are. When migrants flood this country, they say, oh, equal opportunity. We want opportunity. You know why? They're not in the workforce. They don't understand how it's affecting the younger generations. And I can say that, again, as somebody who has sat, judged by my own father, who is a boomer, who's told me, you just need to, and this was prior to YouTube or writing, my father used to say, you just need to get on board with a company and work your way up. You just have to try harder. This is a land of opportunity. You're going to get whatever you need if you're willing to get your hands dirty and work. And I'd say it's not the way it was 30 years ago. You haven't had to find a job in decades because you started your own business and you were successful. You haven't had to hand out resumes. You haven't had to go to job interviews. You don't see what we're competing with. So that's what I'm talking about, is the separation in culture by a generation. The world existed in a certain way for them, not for others. But now I can't even say the word boomer on this live stream on any of our videos because people don't want to hear statistics. People get upset and offended when you criticize their generation. They say, I want news, but I only want news that suits my narrative. And if that's what you want, I don't care. The problem with that is we're never going to get the change that you seek in Alberta. We're never going to get the change that you seek in Canada if we're not prepared to handle the uncomfortable truths. If we're unable to handle statistics, if we always want things to be custom fit to our liking, if we're always going to say, oh, I like what you say, I like your topics, I like your videos, but I don't want you saying this one word. Or people say, hey, take your intro out of your live streams. I don't like it. You yourself at that point are part of the problem in this country. And I know people don't want to hear that either. But you sit here and you talk about government censorship. You talk about all the things you hate about the government. Oh, I don't like that the government stops you from saying certain words online. I don't like that the government's monitoring what you do. I don't like that YouTube can shut you down for using certain words. Oh, but you just said a word that offends me, so change that because I need to be satisfied. You're doing what the government is doing to us, and you're saying it's okay just because you're offended. Do you guys see where I'm talking about the problem here? That if you're starting to vie for independence, if you're starting to say that you want a free world, do you want a free world or do you just want a world the way you see it? Are you prepared to handle the truth that there are problems in certain generations? That's the issue, is that if we can't handle truth, if we can't handle uncomfortable facts, and if people want to talk about my generation, yeah, my generation screwed up a few things too. I know a lot of people in my generation, in my Gen X generation, that they don't bother voting at all. In fact, they're the people being targeted for this referendum. Get off your ass and go out and vote. There's a lot of people in my generation, in the Gen X generation, that just sit back, watch elections happen, and then they bitch and moan about who got in, but they didn't bother to get up and go and vote. Do a boomer poll here. I don't like, so I keep saying I'm not going to say that word anymore. Outside of this stream, I won't be saying it anymore. Because I have to, because of, again, I've heard it before, and it's not the first time. Your rants against Alberta boomers just drive us away from supporting independence. You have no right to criticize others when you're damaging the movement yourself. I'm not here to damage the independence movement. If I have to censor myself in order to get us over the finish line, that's how much it means to me. I guess I have to self-censor. I guess I have to make sure I don't hurt anybody's feelings with what is it, an eight-letter word? 7? I just, I like, this is why I'm saying I didn't want it to be a video. I didn't want to seem like I'm whining about it or crying about it. I'm saying that it's leading to a bigger problem in the country. I've got some super chats to take care of, and I'm going to continue on why this is a problem. Oliver with a $20 super. Here's gas money. Dude, I appreciate that. Thank you for driving all over Alberta. I appreciate it. Old biker, $10 super. I've been 0% liberal the last 55 years and always loved the independent spirit of Alberta. I do as well. But again, people think I'm attacking them all because I'm pointing out a statistic of what we have to worry about when we go to the polls. The people that you're never going to change and why you're never going to change their views. It doesn't affect them. Teresa with a $10 super. I've worked for AHS for 30 years. It's been it has been discussing for years. Maybe it's supposed to say disgusting. I don't know. I saw AHS in full force when my father was getting his cancer treatments. They put him out in a hallway. He didn't even get a room. He had to lay in a hallway behind a curtain for 3 days while people walked past him working. And he got mad when I was upset. I got into the hospital and I says, what the hell is this? Our tax dollars pay for this shit. And the nurse said to me, well, then go complain to the premier. Premier's not the problem. Your unions are the problem. The fact that when money comes into AHS, it goes to those in higher up places. Oh, I'm sure I'm offending people in higher up places at AHS now. It goes to senior level people for their bonuses, for their boats, for their houses. The hospitals don't get resources. The nurses certainly don't get an increase in pay. They're the ones on the front lines actually doing their jobs. It's the corrupt system that's the problem. It's the unions that are the problem. We have to get rid of them. I said it today in a post, F the unions. We need free market work here. We need properly funded work here. I don't agree with nurses who are frustrated working 12-hour shifts or 16-hour shifts in a crowded hospital where people can't even get rooms. My heart goes out to those healthcare workers. They're certainly not doing it for the pay. But the problem is the system. Corey Morgan laid it out this morning. Interesting piece from the CBC. It interviews volunteers from Lukaszik's Forever Canadian referendum campaign. They state their prime motivation for volunteering is being tired of sitting around at home. What generation's sitting around at home right now? Well, bored seniors looking for a cause. Let's take a look at it. We'll do it live on air. Now, I'm not playing their commercials for them. I'm not going to play the audio because I'd hate to get flagged by the CBC. But we'll go through it. We'll go through it and scroll through because I watched the video. So here's the CBC. Now, people saying, why don't you rail against those from your generation, those who are part of the problem? Well, there's somebody here who's probably a Gen X, I would say, at the very least a millennial, senior, 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 and then two people standing here. This kid in the red sweater they interview a little bit later. He doesn't even look like he's ever held a job. But he talks about the economy. I'll unmute it when he's talking about the economy, because this kid probably has never paid taxes. He's probably never had a job. But what I was talking about earlier, when it comes to the boomer generation, sorry, I'm offending people, is the indoctrination that comes over to them, that they're told, and I've seen it from Gen Zs. I've seen it in my own family when I go to family gatherings and they talk to me about the Rainbow Mafia. They talk to me about immigration. Why can't you just accept these people? Why can't you stop being a bigot, an ist, and ism? These are the people that are propping up your wacko world. These Gen Zs that have never had to deal with reality. If you've ever watched police body cam videos, the world's turning into adult daycare. It really is. Every time you see these Gen Zs or millennials getting arrested, it's, I got to call my mom. Stop arresting me. I got to call my parents. They'll get me out of this. No accountability. So it's not just boomers. But when you look at the volunteers, can't say who this is because people might get offended. And she literally makes the statement she was sick and tired of sitting around at home. She just wanted something to do. Right? She says it right here, I believe. Let's play it. Oh, hold on. I muted it.
I was sitting at home feeling quite disturbed about what's happening and is everything not working anymore? And then I thought, maybe I should do something about that. And then I volunteered at the library to collect signatures. And I was amazed at how many people were sitting at home just like me.
How many people were sitting at home just like me? So as we scroll through the video, again, older generation, can't say it, don't want to offend anybody. Again, there's one person here who's probably my generation or younger. You can tell by the bullseye that's tattooed on the back of her neck. This tells you they've made stupid decisions. As we scroll through, again, some millennials hanging out there whose parents probably help them with a down payment for a home if they have one, or they're paying $3,000 a month for rent, but elbows up because they're virtue signaling. They're soy. Now, again, who's standing around Tom Lukasik in this picture? 3 seniors. Older volunteer. We're talking about a statistic. The majority of people pushing for a united Canada are in a position that the referendum or the reasons to leave don't affect them. Look at this photo. Senior, 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 2 Gen Zs. Because they got to get out and virtue signal. This picture
for a crap.
Senior in the back here. Like, is this offensive to people? Are people getting offended by this? I'm offended by that. I'm offended by this. This charlatan. Forever Canada. Here's the purring bus. Senior. People just sitting at home. Right? Should we go over this photo? Should we go over this still image? Right? And it's not to say that every single person who supports Forever Canada is a boomer, but it definitely is the overwhelming statistic. Now, here's where I have the problem. It's not that Tommy has a boomer fetish. It's not that at all. I'll get into that later in this stream. I'll get into it. Mark Carney thinks y'all are stupid because these are people, we talked about it the other day, these are people drunk on the CBC. This is why CBC is interviewing them. These are people who need the CBC to get through their day-to-day. They come out and say, you know, whatever the idiot box tells me to believe, I'll believe. These are the only people left who still have cable TV. But here you have it with somebody who's probably not even old enough to vote, that are being indoctrinated, that are being told, be okay with taking medications and chopping your junk off. Get tampons in the men's bathroom. Like, this generation is the most easily susceptible and stupid generation, standing alongside a boomer. And they're going to be the next biggest problem. They're going to be the next biggest problem that we have to deal with in society, because they're so heavily poisoned. You can't get through to them. You can't get through to them.
Between the flowers and the sign, people will take more notice and say, yes, I need to get one of those signs too.
Yeah, I just live on kind of a main street here.
So this guy, again, my generation, doesn't understand economics, doesn't understand anything. This guy probably won't vote on the 19th, but he'll put a sign in his yard so he can go to Starbucks and tell all the 3-time divorced mothers who are fishing on Tinder how great of a Canadian he is. Probably won't vote. But here you go. There's the image of the biggest problem we have in Canada. This lady's here getting a sign. These two idiots are stuck on their phones. Phones that their parents probably pay for. They've never had to have a job. They've never had to pay for anything. They've probably never paid taxes. No, see, I can't even say CBC boomers. I can't say it anymore because I get roasted in comments and told that I'm driving independence out the window. I don't want that on my hands. I don't want to be told that I'm ruining independence. They're vilifying seniors for a boogeyman is well retarded. I'm not vilifying anybody. I'm talking about why these people won't vote for a separate Alberta. It doesn't affect them. The economy doesn't affect them. The politics don't affect them. The cost of living isn't their problem. They don't have high rent, high mortgages, high interest rates. They're not going to the US. They don't have to worry about the dollar exchange. They probably eat shredded wheat and friggin' soup every day. They don't have to worry about the cost of their groceries. They don't eat as much as everybody else. They don't have kids to buy things for. They don't have groceries to actually have to go out and purchase a full week of groceries. Keith Wilson had a very good point to me when we were talking the other day about what you see when you go out to the stores. How many times do you go to the grocery store now and see people walking out with carts? Most people walk out of the store with a bag or two now, not a full cart. And the people who aren't going to vote for an independent Alberta, they don't need a cart when they go shopping. That's what I'm talking about. Not the fact that they're boomers. I'm talking about where they're at in life. It doesn't affect them. So we're not vilifying seniors. Again, sorry for your sensitivity. We're talking about a statistic. This is why there's days, folks, I say I should just quit. I should just get off of YouTube and just walk away. I'll go vote on October 19th and I'll just piss right off. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Look at these kids on their phones, texting and tweeting. And then this kid who can't even grow facial hair, he's sure trying so he can impress the ladies. I bet you this guy's never held a job. He probably lives at home. His parents probably give him money every weekend to go out with his friends. Listen to what he says. Let me get to the beginning of the clip.
Why would we push for Alberta separatism when, one, it would have a huge deficit and break-off cost that would push down on Albertans, for starters? Unity is always better than separation. I would just kind of agree with that generally.
Okay, so again, the question I would have for a follow-up for this kid: have you ever had a job? Have you paid taxes? Do you ever have to pay rent? Have you ever thought about purchasing a home? How easy is it for you to go out and find a job in today's market? How many sings are you competing with for your job? This is the problem. Ignorance. Sheer ignorance. People that don't understand. And this is why, folks, I say, if you can't pass an IQ test, if you don't understand how the economy works, people like this, not because they're choosing unity, but people like this are the ones that I don't want you, if you're too stupid to vote, I don't want you voting for who's in charge of my country. I don't want you voting for the policies that affect my life if you don't understand how the economy works. If you don't understand how the cost of living works, if you don't understand what interest rates are, if you don't understand what the dollar is and how the dollar is affected, how it affects our trade, how it affects our day-to-day life, if you don't have basic understanding, you shouldn't be voting in our elections. It's like giving a baby a gun and hoping it doesn't shoot anybody. Like young people are cowards. They should rise up. Well, they won't. They won't, because the same parents who tell them, don't you dare vote for separate Alberta, those are the parents who help them with down payments. Those are the parents that pay their cell phones every month. Those are the parents that say, live here until you're 40. They don't care. So those voters don't give a shit because it doesn't affect them. Again, I got a cushy life at home. I can sleep in until noon every day. I don't have to have a job. My parents help me out with everything. I believe in, if I just sit around long enough, I'm going to get universal basic income and then I'm set. Then I can just go for gender studies at a university. I don't have to worry about an actual degree. I don't have to worry about an actual job. I can just spend years and years in university that gets me nowhere. It's not just the boomers. What we're talking about here are people that aren't affected by the status quo. People who aren't affected by shit like this. You guys see what's going on in Spain right now? Emergency has now been declared in the Spanish city of Ceuta. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. After tens of thousands of illegal migrants break in from Morocco. Pedro Sanchez is refusing to deploy the military to defend the borders. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this madness. This is happening today. Today. I'll have a video about this after the stream. Look at the boats coming in. Look at the boats coming in. And what's really sad is that people champion this in some countries. In the UK, everywhere, and it's coming to Canada. It's coming to Canada. We can't control this. This has gotten out of control. It's out of hand. You're not importing families. You're not importing people. Now the audio comes in. Now the audio comes in. You're not bringing in families that actually want to assimilate and do anything. You're bringing in villagers. You're bringing in criminals. You're bringing in people that are going to assault your women. They're not going to obey your laws. You're bringing in welfare recipients. These are the people that are shitting on your beaches. These are the people that are littering everywhere. These are the people that don't care about your laws. These are the people, again, that are getting arrested. Do you know in Ontario, they arrested an Uber driver? I didn't even pull it up for the stream. They arrested an Uber driver who assaulted a woman twice in one day. Once in the car and then once in the bathroom where he dropped her off. And he got a slap on the wrist. Because we'd hate to be racist. Look, this person says it. I've watched this video of Muslim invaders entering Spain probably 50 times. You know what I notice is missing? Women, children. You cannot find them anywhere in this video. Where are they? These aren't families. I saw this once in my lifetime, and it was while I was watching Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That's what this is, the Temple of Doom. You're bringing in all of these people that are here for the wrong reasons. They're not here to get ahead. They're not here to make a better life for themselves. They're here to destroy your quality of living. They're here to make your country the third world shithole that they came from. And everybody claps and applauds this that is preaching for Forever Canada right now. They all say, oh, why don't you let them come here? We showed a clip when David Menzies went to a Tim Hortons in Ontario. And you had a guy saying, oh, you're probably defending Trump. You're probably one of those Trump guys. Why shouldn't these guys be allowed to go work in Tim Hortons? Why shouldn't we be allowing them to come over here and work? This is why. They come in here, they assault your women, they treat you and your country like garbage. They're here to turn it into where they came from. And it's about to get worse, folks. Remember this asshole? Remember Jagmeet Singh? Mark Carney's considering hiring Jagmeet Singh to run Destination Canada, a crown corporation which markets Canada's tourism industry around the world. Who's he going to be bringing into Canada? By the way, that job pays $350,000 a year. The human Q-tip is going to come back into Canadian politics, and all because of this, folks. This is what Mark Carney actually believes. This is who the Brantford boomer is. This is who we're talking about when I'm talking about boomers. People that prop this shit up. People that you can't reach with logic. People in that generation that it doesn't affect them. Thus, I cannot say it anymore after this live stream because heaven forbid people can't handle reality. People can't handle facts. Because I want news that gets me mad. I want news that gets me riled up. I want news that, touches about liberals and about all the bad things they're doing. But don't you dare talk about any of this stuff. Don't you dare give us statistics. Here's Mark Nixon. Holy shit, Canada failed the immigration file so badly, past and present. The 176 people flew to Canada claiming they were attending the World Cup have now claimed asylum. And those are just the ones we know about. There's thousands that came here with the intention during World Cup to, oh, I'm coming to watch soccer. I'm coming to watch a soccer match. And they've claimed asylum. They're going to claim asylum. They're going to live illegally in the country. They're going to claim welfare. They're going to go to your food banks. They're going to rip them dry. They're going to assault your women. And they're going to get a slap on the wrist. We're going to spend millions and millions and, as Trump says, millions and millions of dollars, putting them up in hotels on our dime, allowing them their day in court, and then we're going to fast track them to citizenship and welcome to Canada, your third world country. But if I say the word boomer, oh, far worse, far worse. I've said this for years, and unfortunately, if I want to remain in business, if I want to have this channel keep going where it's going, I have to self-censor. But I've said facts don't care about your feelings. And unfortunately, if I want independence, if I want things to keep moving forward, I have to shut up. I have to shut up because I can give you facts so long as they entertain a certain demographic. They paint a certain picture. We went through the same problem during the federal election. Anytime I said, I like Pierre, I support Pierre, I'm voting for Pierre, but I really don't like the things he just said. And people would say, stop rocking the boat. Don't dare talk about Pierre Poilievre in a bad way. You're gonna ruin this election. You're gonna flip it upside down. You have so much influence. You're going to ruin the federal election. I'm flattered that people think that this channel of 160,000 subscribers, and which were under 100,000 at the time, could influence a federal election. But how did that work out for everybody? Silencing myself over Pierre. Oh, don't you dare say anything about Pierre. How'd that work out, guys? Still happy? Still feeling warm and fuzzy about all the things he can do for you in Canada? No, you can't critique. You can't critique. You can critique, but only to a certain degree. Again, people who reach out and leave these kind of comments, if you ever had a look around at the numerous town halls, you would know boomers made up 90% of attendees. You look at the huge number of boomers that sat in the coldest canvassers. Your rants against Alberta boomers just drives us away from supporting independence. I don't want that on my hands. I don't want to be told that I ruined the independence movement. Your rants against others are pretty hypocritical, and you need to curb your accusations. You have no right to criticize others when you're damaging the movement yourself. Yeah, I have to censor. So give me the news. Just make sure you don't offend me. Make sure everything's custom. Do you guys know how many emails I get during a day? Take that intro out of your live streams. I don't like it anymore. Stop doing Trump. Stop doing this. Hey, play more of this stuff. I want the channel custom fit to my needs. I don't understand where people think they have the right to do that. I don't get it. This isn't Burger King. You don't get it your way. I've built up and run this channel the way I think people want it. Truth. Facts. Raw, unfiltered, uncut judgment. Turns out that's not what people want. It's, I want the news. I just want what I want to hear. I want to hear that we're getting independence. I want to hear that everything's moving along strong. I want to hear that Mark Carney's failing. I want to hear that Alberta patriots are standing up against forever Canadians. But don't you dare ever talk about boomers. So one day I might mention Gen Z, and then all of a sudden I've got the alphabet mafia coming after me saying, how dare you criticize Gen Z? I could say Gen X. Hey, you're part of Gen X. Why are you talking bad about Gen X? Everybody's a critic. And it goes back to the thing I've said before, folks. You can't please 100% of people all the time, and the person who tries to is a fool. But to think that you have that much control to, and how dare, and again, that wasn't the first time a comment's come through that says I'm driving people away from independence. How dare anybody accuse me of doing that with the work that I've put in on this? Or John Bolton, or anybody else who's driven all over this province, who's given their time to this, who's sat with the movement. If anybody wants to question my loyalties to independence in this province, I dare you. I dare you to come forward and say, I'm not here for independence, or that I'm here to just damage the movement, or that John Bolton, like the guy even says in this comment, John Bolton's just as bad. Get the hell out of here. If you can't handle reality, if you can't handle fact, you're not ready for independence. These are the same people who think that we're going to go and vote October 19th. We're going to get a binding referendum. We're going to win that. And the government of Canada is just going to say, okay, you get to go. You get to leave. You get your independence. If you think they're going to give it to you and just hand it over, boy, do you need a wake-up call. We're in for the fight of our lives. This isn't going to be a simple vote. We're not voting for a premier. We're not voting for a federal leader. We're voting to leave a country. You think they're just going to hand it over? They're just going to give it to you? And you think they're not going to say anything that offends you? I struggle with this every single day because I'm just trying to understand how we can want so many better things, but we're being so stupid about it at the same time. You have to be thick-skinned. You have to have grit. You have to be prepared to say, I don't like those statistics, but you know what? They're not wrong. They're not wrong. There's days, guys, where I walk around my house and I tout my shit, and my wife turns around and says, you are 110% wrong. You think I tell my wife I'm offended that you say I'm wrong? I could tell her that. I'd be sleeping on the couch. What I have to do is have some humility and stand back and tell my wife, you know what, you're right. You're right. I don't like it, but you're right. I was 100% in the wrong. That's how humility, dignity, honesty, integrity work. Be humble. Accept the facts. Accept this is the direction the world is heading in, and these are the problems that are plaguing it. The people that are voting for Mark Carney in the East, they're immigrants, migrants, people coming from other countries that are voting for the parties that brought them in, and people who are financially sound. You think people in Toronto that own their homes aren't voting for the Liberals? They love that they bought houses in the 90s for $300,000, $400,000, and they're now worth upwards of $2 million. Who's going to vote against that? Would you vote against that? Honestly, let me ask that question to the crowd. If you bought a house 20 years ago for $300,000 and it was now upward of $2 million, would you vote to change that? Would you vote to have that shift on you? Or would you want that equity? I know what I'd want. Finally, some intelligence. It's not in their best interest. I'll tell you right now, it's been very difficult in this house. And I literally had the same conversation. I'm frozen. Somebody says I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Maybe refresh. I might have been thinking. I don't think I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Can somebody in the chat tell me if the live stream's frozen? We're good? Okay, thank you. I literally had the same conversation with my daughter yesterday because, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I was looking at homes in Texas. It just popped up. You know, your phone listens to everything you say. It popped up on my YouTube feed, homes in Texas. And I was looking at them and going, holy shit. If I sell my home in Alberta and actually move to Texas, the same home that I own in Alberta, which, don't get me wrong, we live in a gorgeous house. We downsized out of Calgary. And when I say downsized, we couldn't afford to buy a larger home. We had a starter home in Calgary. I think it was like 1,400 square feet. My boys were sharing a bedroom. They're still sharing one here because I have yet to develop my basement and build another bedroom. But my boys were sharing a bedroom, and I said, there's no way things are going to work out. You guys remember my old YouTube set when I had all my arcades behind me and stuff? I had to push a desk out into that room, into that living room in my basement every day, set up my cameras, my lights, everything, every time I wanted to film a video. I said I need a dedicated workspace because things were picking up on YouTube. For us to buy a new home in Calgary or a larger home in Calgary meant that we had to enter a market where the average home was $1 million. And we said, we can't do that. We could afford it. We could afford it with my wife having a job, my YouTube income, as long as YouTube stayed the way it was. But who wants to afford that? We'd still be going check to check, even with the equity we made on the house that we had. So we looked at Spruce Grove and we said, look, we can sell our house, our smaller home in Calgary, and buy a larger semi-estate home in Spruce Grove for less money than we purchased our house in Calgary for. So we looked at that and said, yeah, we can get more. Now, that's what I've seen in Texas. Oh, I could sell my house in Spruce Grove and I could move to Texas and live in the lap of luxury. I'll even pull it up. I'll even pull up one of these homes so people know what I'm talking about. Now, my home in Spruce Grove, not to get too personal, my home in Spruce Grove is roughly a 2,400 square foot house. Big house. But the only reason we got that is because we left Calgary for greener pastures, more affordable greener pastures. This is the house that comes up in Texas. This house is $350,000 in Texas. Look at the kitchen. This isn't the outside of it, by the way. That was a different house. They're talking about the cities and stuff like that. This is a $350,000 home. Look, or sorry, $450,000 if you get all the upgrades. But look at the outside of this house. Could you find a house for, again, with the price difference, $600,000 in Canada for this, in Alberta? This would be a $600,000 home in Alberta right now. Now, when they go inside, oh, sorry, priced at $415,000. It's not even $600,000. Let's take a look at the inside, shall we? Look at the inside of this house. It's like a palace. You have a dining room. How many houses in Alberta right now have a dining room in a brand new build? Oh, this would be over $1 million in Calgary. Well over $1 million. This would be 1.5. This would be 1.5. Now, one of the perks of this, you don't have winter. You don't have to deal with snow. You're allowed to protect your family and your home, right? So they go through this dining room. Look at the main hallway of this house. Look at this winding staircase. Winding staircase. They look out. Look at the entryway. Look at the chandelier. Like, seriously? Look at the living room. Look. This is like, I was literally sitting here with my wife saying, why are we living here? Why are we going check to check? My wife works in oil and gas. Why are we putting up with Canadian politics? This is what we could have, and we could do it without breaking a sweat. Like, I know people, I see if you're serious about Texas. I'm not serious about, what I'm talking about is what you're getting. The different, like, look at this kitchen. I mean, our kitchen in Spruce Grove is actually nicer than this kitchen. I do have to admit that. We have a nicer kitchen than this. I'm very grateful for that. But like, look at the size of the backyard. Look at the size of it. What would you do with a backyard like that, folks? Covered patio, no winter, by the way. You get to sit out there all year long. All year long. Look at the master bedroom. Look at this gorgeous bedroom. Hang on, let me get to their bathroom. Let me get to the bathroom. Look at the bathroom. I 415,000 USD. What are you getting in Toronto for $600,000, guys? This is the reason I wanted to show this. This is the reason I wanted to show this. Now, when we show you that, when we talk about that, when we talk about this home in Texas, this is why jobs are fleeing the country. This is why people are fleeing the country. This is why people are moving to other places in the United States. There it is. I would move to Texas. So if you're a boomer, if you're a liberal boomer and you live in Toronto and you bought a house in the 90s that was worth $300,000 and now it's worth $2 million, do you want to vote against the liberals? Do you want to vote against the liberal policies that are boosting the value of your home, your equity, all that money you have? Is it starting to make sense? Is it starting to make sense in Alberta, where people bought homes in the 90s, 80s? And I understand there were bad things that happened in the 80s under the National Energy Program. My father sold his very first home that he struggled to purchase for $1 in the 1980s. I understand that generation suffered. The boomer generation went through a lot. However, my father bought his home in Calgary in 2003. We moved here in 1995. He rented for a few years because he didn't want to deal with that market fallout again. He was scared to get into the market after what happened to him in the 80s. We moved back from Manitoba. My father rented for 6 years before getting into the market to purchase a home. He bought a semi-estate home in Calgary for $215,000 in 2003. So 23 years ago, $215,000. Do you know what his house in Calgary is worth right now? It's paid off and it's over $1 million. Lake community. Do you think he would vote for Alberta to leave? Do you think he's struggling with his grocery bills? Do you think he's living check to check or dealing with unemployment or dealing with high interest rates? There it is. So what am I being? What am I being? Do you think that the referendum vote is going to affect those people? That's what we're talking about when we talk about those who are campaigning with Forever Canada. I'm trying to make sense out of the statistic. The folks that are so pro-Canada are pro-Canada for the wrong reasons. They don't have to worry about high grocery bills. What did your wife say to the question, why are you living here? She said, if independence fails, maybe we don't. But I got off track. It brings me back to the conversation I literally had yesterday when talking to my daughter, because as soon as we mentioned this, my daughter said, we're going to move to Texas. I don't want to lose my friends. I just made new friends in Spruce Grove. And I had to tell my daughter, and here's the coup de grace, folks, all about those people we're talking about. Here's what we're talking about. I told my 12-year-old daughter, the reason we would think about Texas, no matter what happens right now, with inheritance that would come my way when my father's gone, and I hate to say it, my father has limited time because of his cancer. But I had to tell my daughter that when my dad's gone, no matter what happens, her mother and I are secure. Our mortgage will be paid off. Our mortgage is secure because of all of that equity in his home. If we have to sell his home, the money that I get from that would pay off my mortgage. So I'm secure, no matter what happens. I've been fortunate enough that I have a very good advisor who tells me where to make investments, that some of my investments are in place, that once my mortgage is paid, I could essentially semi-retire and live on a very fixed income if I chose to. So I told her, I said, the whole reason we're pushing for things in Alberta right now isn't because we hate Canada. It's because we want a better future for you and your brothers. I had to tell my daughter, this is how much our house cost. And I've also told her about the house that my parents owned in Winnipeg. The house that my parents bought in Winnipeg was $90,000 in 1985. They sold it in 1995 for $92,000. So they didn't have skyrocketing equity. Because houses weren't meant to be investments. They were investments for your family. They were investments for you guys to pay into your own pocket. They weren't meant to make you millions and millions of dollars. But what I told her is I said, when you look at the house we live in Spruce Grove right now, you could buy almost 6 of my childhood homes. And she said, well, that's a lot. Yeah. Now, that was when I was a kid until now. And I said, your mother and I didn't buy our first house until I was 35 years old, because every time we had to save up a down payment, either the rules changed or houses went up in value and we didn't have enough. So I said, what happens now? If I could buy 6 of my childhood homes, how much are homes going to be in Alberta or anywhere in this country when you're my age and want to buy a home or start a family or do anything with your life? How much are those houses going to be then? She goes, I don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. There's a number of things that could change that might help you, but there's also a lot of things that point to the fact that it's going to be unaffordable. Land owning, having homes is going to be a luxury, not a necessity. And that's scary. So I told her the reason we think about Texas, the reason we're pushing for Alberta to leave Canada is because we want a better future for you guys. This isn't about whether my wife and I are secure. And that's the problem that a lot of these people that I say it's not affecting them have to think about. You can't just think about yourself. You can't just think about your own portfolio. You can't just think about the fact that, hey, I don't have a mortgage or my house has increased in value 6 times what I paid for it. You have to think about, what am I leaving behind? Is this the world I want to leave behind for the next generations? Is this really what I want to have as my legacy? All I thought about was myself. Again, my wife and I are secure no matter what happens to us at some point in time. You know, we might have to struggle for another 5 or so years or 10 years, but eventually we're secure. My kids? No. And I have to think about them. I have to think about the Gen Zs that think that they're going to get universal basic income. And guess what, folks? Just like AISH, just like ADAP, all that other stuff, it ain't going to be enough for them to pay their bills. And they're going to regret it when that comes forward. They're going to cry to their parents in their safe space and say, hey, how come I can't afford a house? I thought universal basic income was going to solve all my problems. Somebody's got to pay for it. No, it's not enough to live on. It's just enough to keep you quiet. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And that's a lesson that the younger generation isn't being told. My kids come to me and say, hey, Dad, I need money for Roblox. Stupid online game. You know what I tell them? Better get to work. Better get outside and pick up the dog shit. You better go cut the grass. Oh, I don't want to do any work. If you want money, you got to work. That's what I tell my kids. If you want the things you want in life, you got to go earn it. You got to work. You got to earn your living. That's a lesson I think a lot of younger generations aren't being taught. They're being given participation awards for losing in sports. They're getting patted on the bum and told, doesn't matter what happens in life, you still win. Not how the world works. That's how they're conditioning people. I know we're going all over the place here, but this is why I don't want to affect the independence movement by saying boomers are the problem. Statistically, they are part of the problem. So are Gen Zs, so are millennials, and so are Gen X. Just in their own little way. My 28-year-old daughter, who's about to get married, came to my home. We had to go get a dress for my younger daughter. We sat outside and talked about things. My 28-year-old daughter said, yeah, there it is. Your wish is my command, sir. Please let me know how I can custom fit the channel to your likings. My 28-year-old daughter told me, I'll never own a home unless I inherit one. That's scary. That's scary. You can find cheap land out there, 28 acres, house, really big shop, $260,000 4 years ago in Saskatchewan. The problem is that you shouldn't have to move into the middle of nowhere in order to be able to live. You should be able to choose where you want to live. I like the city. I want to live in the city. I want to have a city job. Okay. My question is, when are the wages going to make ends meet with the cost of living? Because they haven't gone up in about 15, 20 years. They have for minimum wage. That just affects the middle class. When are taxes going to come down? Oh, wait, they won't. When's the government going to get spending under control? Oh, wait, they won't. When are they going to cut the over-bloated, overinflated government? Oh, they won't. When are NGOs going to stop getting funded? Which, by the way, the premier in Alberta, talking about the cost of things, she could cut those NGOs at any time. They don't. Don't forget your home equity tax. Well, how do you think they're going to pay for universal basic income? I can't anymore. People want what they want to hear. They don't want reality. And that's fine. I've propped up the boomers who support independence, and I shouldn't have to spell it out every single time we mention the word, because people easily forget or they need it spoon-fed to them. This is my point. When you're censoring people, where is it? You're no different than a liberal when you censor people, because this is what they're doing. They're censoring us right now. And you're saying, don't talk about this because I don't like it. That's censorship. And I'm sure I've offended you because I've said you're just like a liberal. How old is my dad? 74. He's 74. He was born in 52. He's a boomer. Okay, and water is wet. But this is the problem. No, it's not getting under my skin. What gets under my skin is it's proving my point. It's that people need it padded the way they need it in order to accept it. You can't say what's really happening. You can't, you say, well, I want to get away from Mark Carney and his communist government and their censorship. I don't want people getting censored on the internet. I don't want my favorite YouTube channels to disappear. But if you say a word that people don't like, oh, get rid of that. Don't have that in your channel. I don't like that. It offends me. How is that any different than what the liberals are doing? How is it any different? If you can't handle reality, if you're going to censor people by saying, I personally don't like that. Like I said, I get hundreds of emails of people telling me to do all kinds of things on this channel. Remove your intros. Stop talking about Trump. Stop doing the Trump voice. Stop showing American things. We don't care about America. We just want Canadian news. I get all kinds of emails of people saying, I want you to custom fit your channel to my likings. I'm curious. I'll actually ask the next time I see either John Bolt or any of these guys if they get emails like that. Because to me, it's just so surprising that people think they can go out of their way to email you and tell you this is the way I want your channel to operate. Lots of people love it. I get it. Do you know how many people at the Whistle Stop? I literally was talking all July 1st. I think it's part of the reason I lost my voice when I got sick. All day July 1st at the Whistle Stop, people had me talking like Trump. I love when you do it. I got to get to these super chats because they've been in here forever and I've been ignoring them. Freedom Calendar, $10. Not to mention that all those temporary foreign workers who barely speak any English are taking jobs from local teenagers. Regular Canadians are kind of forced to start their own business. It's not even the bigger problem of things, Max. It's reality again. That's why I was saying this Gen Z who was standing on that video at the CBC saying, I don't understand why you wouldn't want unity in Canada. He's never had to get a job. He hasn't had to compete with these foreign workers. Wait till he does. Wait till his parents tell him, hey, look, we're getting to be 70, 80 years old. We're not going to be here forever. You can't just keep living here. You're going to have to get a job and stand on your own 2 feet. Wait till he has to compete then. Fireball Whiskey, $10 super. Boomers, I worked hard and you were adequately compensated for it. Younger generation must work 10 times harder for way less. You're not lazy. We're not lazy. We're exhausted. I understand that argument too. But the thing is I mentioned earlier how my father, who was a boomer, sold his house for $1 in the 1980s because of interest rates, because of the National Energy Program, because the economy fell out, because of all the bad leadership that was going on in the country. And they struggled. That generation struggled like hell. They fought like hell too. And they had days where they had to come home and say, do we eat craft dinner or do we just, call it quits? So it's not to say that some generations have just had it easy and we're the only ones that have it hard. But in this current climate, yes. Again, it's more pointing to the hypocrisy that you can't really weigh in on the way that the job market is or that the cost of living is if you're not contributing to it. If you're not paying a $3,000 mortgage, if you're not paying high interest rates, if you're not out there trying to get a job, and you don't understand what you're competing with, you have no rights to weigh in on it and say, oh, I understand how all that works. No, you don't. Those people are retired. They have their investments, their pension, and their mortgage. Those that are ignorant towards it, and they sit there and say, oh, you guys are making $80, $90, $100,000 a year, and you don't understand what it's like, because to them, that's a lot of money. But what they don't realize is all the taxes that are being paid, all the money that's being doled out. The fees you're paying on top of a fee for a fee for a fee. You go for groceries and you got to buy groceries for not just yourself and your spouse, but a couple of kids. And you're walking out with no less than $300 every week. They don't understand that. They don't want to. So they won't vote for independence because it doesn't affect them. They don't see the same gripes that others are seeing. And there are boomers who are struggling. There are boomers whose pensions don't cut it for them because they maybe rented their entire lives or something happened to them that they still have an expensive mortgage. Again, saying the word boomers doesn't imply absolutely everybody in that demographic. But people get offended because they don't want to handle reality. Colonel Frank, $5 super. Call them liberal boomers. Oh, I've done that. Doomers and their followers dupes. I've done all of that. I've done it all. But just like the comment, well, you have to spell it out every single time. You don't do it every time. You've only done it selectively. Again, let's customize the way things are done. Old biker with a $10 super. Everything is out of control in this country. It's time to separate from European Crown and the NWO. It's 3-letter agencies. Absolutely it is. Don't let the sensitives get, it's not that they're getting to me. It's I'm asking, how are we ever going to get change? I'm frustrated by the fact that how are we ever going to get change in this world if we're not prepared to handle the truth? If we're not prepared to talk about the uncomfortable realities in our lives? It doesn't bother me. I'll shut this stream off and walk away from the computer, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't eat up any time in my day. It doesn't affect my life. The only frustration comes from myself behind the independence front, where I'm saying, we really want change in this bloody province. We want to become a republic. But the fact is that if something offends people, they're going to back down. Somebody's claiming to me that my comment about boomers is destroying the independence movement. If that's all it takes to destroy the independence movement, what the hell are we doing here? Seriously. I'll tell you right now, I was asked to speak at a town hall in September. I'm 99% to the point that I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm not going to MC that event. I'd hate to offend anybody there, since 90% of the audience are boomers, according to that comment. So I'm not driving people away from independence movement. You're driving me away from talking about it. You're driving me away from helping with it, because I don't want to be labeled as a factor as to why it fails. People saying I've muscled my way in. Old biker with a $10, December 11th, 1931. Each province of Canada, previously recognized as colonies, are now recognized as sovereign states. So the people of the provinces possess all the sovereign power over Ottawa. Yeah, until laws were changed. Things were changed. That's why Danielle Smith always talks about jurisdiction. We need more control, more sovereignty. Well, we gave it up to them. Callan with $5. My elderly retired neighbors are true blue conservatives, voted for Smith Pierre, but I saw a Forever Canada sign on their lawn yesterday. It doesn't affect them. That's why. Again, how long have we been asking? Give me one good reason to stay in Canada, and they can't do it. They can't answer the question. Well, because it's Canada. That's not a reason. It's not a reason. Jay with a $20. Speaking as Gen Z, the bigger problem with my generation is the lack of purpose. Hope and a purpose was essentially beaten out of us. So when we find one, good or bad, we latch onto it with a passion because it's the only thing for us. You know what? That hits the nail on the head. That hits the nail on the head. Wow. Talk about being awake. I love that comment. Yes. And that is the problem. Teresa with a 50. Thank you so much. Derek, you've always said that things are going to get worse. You're a strong voice for our movement, and they know it. They're trying to get you to quit. There are a lot of true Alberta boomers that stand with you, keep you. Yeah, but it's hard for me to want to do that. Look, it's kind of like people saying, look, everybody in the room hates your guts, but you should really go in there. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to be a part of that. No, if everybody's going to have a better time by me not going in the room, I'll stay out. If people are going to say I'm ruining the independence movement, I'll stop going to events. I'll stop driving around. I'll just go and vote October 19th. I'll cover the topics that need to be covered on the channel, but I'll stop showing up at these things. Hate to ruin your good time. You're driving people out of independence. You're literally driving me out because I don't need it. John Bolton has said it before. When things become work, that's when I quit. I do this because I enjoy it. When it becomes a job, I'm out. I'm out. Old biker, $10. There are 4.5 million economic migrants that shouldn't be here. Trudeau left them borders open for 10 years without vetting them. Yeah, and the government doesn't even know where they are. The government doesn't even know how we're going to find those people. Boomers are a lot of things, but they aren't stupid. The boomers bitching are the problem boomers. The ones like the ones in the chat are speaking in support. Know what you don't mean them? Well, there's problem boomers then that are coming into my comment sections that are sending emails that are saying that I'm wrecking the movement. Like I said, that comment isn't the only time I've heard that. I've had countless emails from people saying you're destroying the movement. You're worse than Jeff Raff. Really? I'm fighting for a free and fair Alberta for my kids, for my family, for everybody's families. I don't want that on my hands. I don't want to be told I'm ruining your movement. No. Oh, we got it. Old Biker did it twice. Thank you. Or no, we got that one. We got that one. $10 super from Old Biker. There it is. Number 2, this is all because of the unelected European NWO, WHO, and WEF. Carney wants instead of trading with the USA. What a clown show. Well, and people are buying into it. $5. My family and I will lose our home if this doesn't happen or change. A lot of people will. Just don't mention boomers. I'm joking. Hobbit with a $5 went to Walmart the other day. The Wally rant was, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Again, C9, I got to watch. I can't say it out loud. Max, we need to stand under our convictions. Yeah, we do. But the problem is, and Glenn, thank you, as well as Sarah. I appreciate it. It's not bending the knee. I'm tired. You guys ever watch what it's going to be a reference because I know a lot of people don't watch this stuff. You ever watch the old Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie? Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin says to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, in light of everything you've done, eventually they'll come to hate you. There's nothing people want to see more than a hero fail, fall, die trying. Why bother? And I'm not saying that I'm any hero. What I'm saying is that it comes to light with a question of being exhausted to say, I've driven all over this province to go to different events, cover different events, to talk to people, to prop up independence. I'm there for the right reasons. But when you put in that effort, when the time that I've given up with my kids, my family, I could be like Moose on the Loose. I could be like Mark Nixon. I could be like the pleb while the pleb goes out. I could be like a lot of these guys where I just make my videos and call it a day. I could just stay home. I could have more time with my family. But I truly believe in something. I'm truly believing in a movement where Jason Levine said it the other day. You are critical to this movement. I don't feel like it. I'm grateful that people see it that way, but I don't feel like it. Because if people are this unhappy with me, I don't want to ruin people's referendum. I don't want to ruin people's good time. I don't want to get in the way of Alberta separation. That's literally all I want. So maybe I just keep up with the videos and stop going to events. Still talk about independence. We'll still cover the topic. Still have Keith Wilson and Tanya Clemens on. We'll still put the information. But when people start saying, hey, Fringe, can you come talk to people? No, maybe I'm busy. I'm not stopping. I'm just saying that I don't want to muscle my way in. I tune into your channel all the time. I believe in you and what you stand for. We need warriors, not complainers. Yeah, well, and please don't take what I'm saying as complaining. I'm not complaining. What I'm saying is that there's a lot that people don't see that goes into making this channel, to live streams, to content. Like when I, and this isn't complaining, this is just like what I'm doing here is putting it out for you guys so you understand what I'm talking about. Just so you have a picture of what I'm comparing it to. When I shut off this camera, when I finish this live stream, I'm on government news, prostitute sites. I'm on X. I'm on YouTube. I'm doing all this research. What is it that people want me to talk about? What is it that's important? What's coming out? Where's the facts coming from? Then when I find a story, I got to go dig for those facts. I got to make sure everything's accurate. So it's a full-time day job to get the level of content out that this channel does. So while I'm doing all of that, and while I'm running around, while I'm getting emails, while I'm getting phone calls, can you come to this event? Can you talk at this event? Can you be in these places? You start getting messages from people saying, hey, you're affecting the movement. You're ruining this. You're causing a problem. You're unhinged. You're upsetting people. Why am I doing all that work if it's just causing a problem? Why am I putting this much effort into it, even though I believe in it, if it's making people miserable? So what I'm saying is not complaining. Maybe you downscale and say, all right, I'll stop going to events. I'll stop appearing at those things and being part of the image of independence. We'll talk about it. We'll cover it. We'll get people motivated to go out and vote. I don't want to pull away. I don't want to actually deter people from independence. But if I'm that much of a problem, would anybody else want to be a part of that problem? This isn't a feel sorry for me thing. It's not like I'm generally polling my audience here. I'm generally asking people, what the hell do we do? Yeah, you know what? I side with this. Like, we do giveaways on this channel that come out of pocket. I'll keep that on the screen so people know I'm not complaining. I spend over $600 a month giving away shirts on this channel. And I drive all over the province. Nobody pays me to go to those events. I hear that people like Berta Pride dude take speaking fees at events. I've never once been offered a speaking fee. I've never once taken a speaking fee. Nobody's ever paid for my gas. Nobody's ever said, hey, can you come talk at this event? Well, we'll pay to have you there. None of that. So I don't know what people think happens in the background. I've always driven around the province on my dime. I had to go from Spruce Grove to Calgary. So it's 700 kilometers on my car, round trip, 3 times in July for events, for different things that people needed me there for, trying to get future events booked. I've driven all over the place on my dime because I care about independence, because I care about what we're going through. I'm saying, you know what? Could that money go elsewhere? Absolutely, it could. I could go buy expensive groceries. I could go on a vacation with my family. I could put it into a fund for my kids when they're older. I'm spending the money because I'm investing in Alberta. I'm investing in what we're doing. I believe in it. And I haven't complained once. Anytime people have said, can you come to Red Deer and pick up lawn signs to give out to people? Sure. I've done that on my dime too, as have others. So it's not just me. And I'm not, look at Max. Look at Max at Freedom Calendar. He's driving all over Alberta while on EI. Nobody's paying him. Well, I think some people, for the audio equipment, I think he gets caught. It's none of my business. I'm not going to get into it. But what I'm saying is he's doing that out of pocket at a time. And people come on and say, hey, shut your mouth and don't talk about certain things we don't want you to talk about. You're ruining the movement. Again, nobody's playing a violin here, but what I'm trying to say is, don't you get to a point where you hear that and you see that and you start going, why am I spending all this money to drive all over the province? Why am I going to these events? Why am I trying to motivate people if I'm causing a problem? It's hard to know if what you're doing is the right thing, is all. Because when all this is done, I don't want somebody saying, hey, Derek, we didn't get enough votes in the independence movement. It's because you called everybody boomers. I would never want anybody to feel like I ruined their good time. Facts don't care about your feelings and feelings don't care about facts. Well, I've said that forever, but apparently that's not true. Gas stations ran by East Indians are apparently gouging gas prices. I see 20-cent difference between what I pay and retail price. Dude, I see it in my town every week, every Thursday. Every Thursday they go up like gangbusters. The rule in my town is don't fill up between Thursday and Sunday. Thanks for that, Max. Glenn with the $10. Best thing you can do is apply U.S. citizenship now. Get dual citizenship for you and your family. That will be the best freedom and security you'll ever have. You know what? I reached out to Pete Hoekstra. I'm going to try to get Pete Hoekstra on the channel. I don't know. Maybe I ask him if there's a way to get the fringe fast-tracked for U.S. dual citizenship. I don't know. Mikey with a $5. I believe you're a warrior, not a complainer. Clear the air, keep fighting, and make the voice. Yeah, I appreciate the words, guys, and I really do appreciate everybody's commitment to this channel. Yeah, you see, it is suck it up for crying out loud. And I know you mean that in the most caring way. I'll say it again. This doesn't affect me when I shut off the camera. But I don't want to be told that I'm ruining the independence movement. I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want that on my shoulders. Pete Hoekstra would make that happen. I doubt it. They can't be favoritists. They can't just say, "Oh, you want to come into the US? Sure, no problem." That wouldn't happen. Here's the thing. I don't want to flee to the United States. I want to fix my problems here. I want an independent Alberta. I want my kids to go outside and know that when they're older, they can find a job and not have to compete with a sing in order to get into a job. And I want their wages to reflect the cost of living. I want them to be able to go and buy groceries without having to donate a kidney in order to pay for them. Is that too much to ask? Like, I'm not sitting here saying, I want so much oil coming in that we're like the next Dubai and I want everybody to have gold-plated toilets and drive Ferraris and all. No, I just want basics. I want homes to cost a reasonable rate, or at least for the cost of living to be reflected in people's wages so they can afford to buy homes. I want people to feel like they have an identity in their country. I don't want people to feel like they're being overrun and taken over. I want the police to actually do their jobs. I want people who commit crimes to actually go to jail. These are basic things. We're not asking for the world to bend over backwards. We're not saying that oh, we want to rip Alberta out of a country and just turn into a bunch of oil mongering money grubbers. All we want is success, prosperity, something to work toward. Why is that so hard for people to wrap their heads around? Why is it so hard for people to understand that all we want is a fair shot at life? And why is it criminalized for us to want that? Why are we criminals for wanting to do that? Why are a bunch of people running around with Tom Lakasik saying, no, you should be grateful to live check to check. You should be grateful that your houses cost $1 million. You should be grateful that, let's bring it up again. You should be grateful that if you want to go to the beach in the summertime, if you want to go to, if you want to go spend a good day with your, like a day out with your family, your day off, one of the few that you get, and not spend an arm and a leg to do anything, you can't even go to a beach community. Sorry, I'm scrolling through to get to it. Because there's just so much shit that I've had to save. Here it is.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're in Sylvan Lake.
Sylvan Lake, Alberta. Is it wrong for me to say I don't want this when I go out with my family anymore? I don't want large blaring music from other countries and their garbage everywhere. I don't want them throwing plastic bags full of their excrement into my lakes. You know, this place, I heard over the weekend, Sylvan Lake had to shut down certain parts of their beach because these guys were all in the lake in their clothes praying. Why are we doing this? Why are we playing this game? Why are we bowing down to this and saying we don't need an identity in our own country? Why are we criminalized for saying, look, if we have jobs, if we have opportunities and you want to assimilate and you want to come here and make a better life for your family, then absolutely. But we don't have to adopt your culture. We don't have to adopt your praying or your statues getting thrown into our lakes. We don't have to put up with you throwing garbage in our ditches. Like, I don't understand why there can't be a line down the middle where we can say, look, we're happy if we have the resources for you to come here, but if you can't assimilate, if you can't join in, we don't want you here. Why is that such a problem there? This town has had to implement a $50 a day parking limit or parking fee to try and discourage this shit from happening. And as you can see, it's still happening. A family member had to buy a camping site outside of that town so that they could get away for the summer because they can't even use the lake that they purchased their property at. They bought a property in Sylvan Lake to say, I want to go to the beach every summer. I want to live in a lake community. And they can't even go to the beach because it's overrun with this shit. And none of those people live there, by the way. They're all coming from the cities. It's a central point. Sylvan Lake is right in the middle between Calgary and Edmonton. So you got all these people going there every single weekend, flooding the beaches. The residents that live there can't even go and enjoy the lake. I used to go there every summer, and I'd rent a Sea-Doo for a couple hours or a boat and take the kids tubing. Can't even do it anymore. Somebody might Admiral Akbar right into you. $50 a day parking, and people are still going. Like, why do we want this? Why do people say you need to have this or you're racist? You're an ist, you're an ism. I spent a lot of time at Sylvan Lake as a kid. My grandparents had a farm down the road. Loved it. I loved it up until about a year or two ago as well. There was a spot that we used to go to off of Sylvan Lake where the residents would go. Small little parking lot, little private beach to get away from the main beach. They actually pulled that down last year and took away the parking. Why? Because it was overrun by foreigners. And they were littering everywhere. And they were destroying the land. And they left their garbage and their sand garbage, we'll say, pooping on the beach. I'm the criminal, though, for wanting to get away from that. Give me a break. Canada's so big with so much land. I don't know why everybody needs to be in one place. I can tell you why. Let's look at a map of Canada. I can tell you why that is. A lot of people have a hard time understanding that, and I'll tell you why. Because it's the same reason that we talk about leverage. If Alberta separates from British Columbia. Oh, hold on. I accidentally brought up a Amazon map for sale. Sure, let's open up this one. We'll do it live. Let's open up a map of Canada. So you have Edmonton, which is basically central Alberta. I always say northern Alberta. In fact, I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. So when you look at Alberta, if you were to draw a line, like from British Columbia, can you guys see my mouse on the screen okay? If you draw a line from up here in British Columbia, all the way across, like from central to northern Alberta, all the way across Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, into Quebec, a lot of this is uninhabitable. It's uninhabitable land. They can't get clean water to people. They can't get roads to people. You can't build cities. You can't. That's why a lot of, and Trump talks about it all the time. You'll notice that if you put a line in Canada, aside from Edmonton, where the majority of people live, in fact, I'll bring it up. We'll do it live. So here it is. Um, 70% of Canada's population is underneath this red line. 30% is above it. So under this line is Victoria, Vancouver. You've got Toronto and the zoo, as I call it. You've got Quebec, like Montreal, Quebec City. 70% is underneath this line. This is where Trump talks about, you know, they went through, they had this invisible line. They just went, wah, and wrote this invisible line. If we got rid of it, it would be a wonderful 51st state. This is why he says that. 70% of the population live right on top of the U.S. border. The majority of people who live in Canada are less than a 2-hour drive to the U.S. border. This is why Trump talks about 51st state, because it opens up when you look at where the 30% are, when you look at this terrain into Greenland, where he talks about Golden Dome and everything else, the forestry areas of BC, the oil wells in Alberta, or the oil deposits, the uranium and potash deposits in Saskatchewan, they're all up in here. Yeah, 5 hours from Red Deer to the U.S. border. This is why people say, well, it's such a large landmass. How come everybody's focused in one area? Most of this 30% area is uninhabitable. I'm happy to be on the 30% side as well. I got to be honest. I almost sounded like Trump there. I got to be honest. I like that 30% side. It's wonderful. Even when I lived in Winnipeg as a kid, we used to go down to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and Fargo on spring break because shopping was cheap. That's how my parents saved money when I was a kid. Everybody was within a couple hours of the U.S. border. I didn't know this? Okay, well, you're very welcome. This is why we try to educate on this channel. But this is why it's important for Alberta to break free, because we want that relationship south of this red line. 80% of our exports go down here. Isn't that scary? Like, people in Canada don't realize how close we are to the United States. And why, again, everybody lives in such designated areas. Most of Canada is uninhabitable. So and let's bring it up again, because when BC, we talked about how BC is charging, we'll go back to this map. We talked about how BC is charging a fee, a toll, essentially, for the new pipeline for Alberta Oil to go through here to the point of Prince Rupert, or the expansion of TMX, whatever it is they're doing. I don't even pay attention to it because it's never getting built. But they talk about the fee that BC is going to get from it. And we've said, well, you bring all your rail, all your transport through Alberta to get to the rest of the country. So if Alberta's separated, we should start charging a toll to BC and saying, and this is where we talk about leverage. Here's the ocean where people say, you're landlocked, you're never going to get away from it. BC, if Alberta leaves, here's Alberta, here's this dotted little section that says Alberta. If Alberta is no longer part of the rest of this map, they're their own republic, BC is now landlocked. You can't take your rail up here through the Northwest Territories or your transport. There's no roads, there's no rail. You go through the US, they're going to charge you a fee as well. Alberta's will probably be less. But all of a sudden, Alberta has to say to BC, hey, you need to come through us to get all your stuff to the rest of this country. So you're not going to charge us a fee for that oil. And they say, oh, no, we want indigenous this and that. We're going to charge you the fee for the oil. Alberta says, okay, fine. So now when you come through us, when you got to go over here, we're going to charge you $10 a vehicle, $10 a truck, $10 per rail car. And people say, well, it's only $10. It adds up, folks. We're talking billions. And all of a sudden, BC shits their pants and says, oh, well, we can't have that. We can't afford that. Good. Now you have to work with us because we're not a part of this confederation anymore. Yeah, there's talks about taking it to Washington State. We'd have to get it done before Trump's out of office, because if a Democrat gets in, they'll just cancel it like they did with why am I forgetting the name of that pipeline? I almost said TMX. And it's on the tip of my tongue, and somebody's going to put it in the chat. Keystone, thank you. There it is. He'll cancel it like Keystone. But this is where we talk about leverage. BC can't go into Northwest Territories. They can't go around Alberta into Saskatchewan to deliver out east. And Canada still needs our oil and gas. They still need our products. They still need our beef. They still need a lot of things that Alberta brings into the rest of the world. And people say, oh, well, the East doesn't need your oil fringe. Line 5 literally goes down into the United States, through Michigan, up into Sarnia. And that's jet fuel, that's gasoline, that's everything else for Americans and Canadians. So we could still send our oil through Line 5 down to Michigan. But if we cut off that fuel to Ontario, they run out of gasoline in, I think Keith Wilson said, 5 days. So people who say Alberta's landlocked, far from. Far from. Not even close to landlocked. But these are the facts people actually have to talk about. These are the things people have to notice if we're ever going to get out of here. Joe with a $50 super chat. You're not running from anything from a boomer who stands with you and understands and appreciates. I appreciate it. Look, I wasn't looking for sympathy, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about there's going to be uncomfortable truths that people have. If we're going to talk about getting our independence, and I said it earlier, if you think the government's just going to hand it over to you, they're just going to give it to you. They're not going to give you anything, even if we vote, even if we have a unilateral declaration of independence. You think they're just going to say, okay, you can go. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to be prepared to fight for it. And I can't say physically on the air. But if the word boomer is offending you, those people aren't going to put up a fight. They're just going to say, oh, here we go again. The Gen X's that never go out and vote, that maybe go and vote, that say, well, I voted and they didn't just hand us our independence. I give up. I quit. The millennials will say, where's my universal basic income? It's all going to fall apart. We have to be prepared to say, it's not coming to us. Nobody's handing it to us. We're in for the fight of our lives. Max of the $5. Those who criticize are the ones who aren't putting in any effort. Just ignore them. I get called names all the time. I don't care. No, I don't care either. What I'm talking about is I just don't want the responsibility of being told that I'm ruining the independence movement. If people don't want my help, I won't give it. That's all I'm saying. Reg with the $10. What people don't understand is that we want what we used to have. Only one income needed. Safe streets for kids to play. Affordable housing. Lower taxes. Hard work moves you forward. I don't understand why it's so difficult for people to wrap their heads around that. Around this country. Around Alberta. I don't understand why we're criminals for wanting that. Like, did you ever think you'd live in a time where you're told you're a traitor for wanting these basic things in your life? I don't want to radicalize things. I don't want to tear up Alberta and, I don't want to build a wall around Alberta. Well, maybe we have to. I don't know. Rubio will be the next U.S. president. They should make what's his name? Moreno the next president after what he did with Fauci yesterday. I think he should be the next president. That guy tells it like it is. Maple Kitty. So let's win this war. I hope so. I hope we do. Are we still having issues in the chat? Jess and GP, $7. I love the Trump voice, but I love your liberal voice more. It's spot on. The whiny liberal voice. You can't do that stuff. Wait, what's it? I want the life our Gen Xers built. Did we actually build anything? I don't think we built anything. I'll push back on that one. I don't think we built shit. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody will tell me now. You can't say that. Censor yourself. Why would you say Gen X didn't do anything? You're Gen X. Why would you say that? Oh. You can't do that step yet. It's freezing up on the phone over here. There you go. They do. Gen X does do a lot of complaining, and I'll say that as a Gen X. Gen X / millennial. Yeah, it starts at 65. Okay. Well, I'm at the end of Gen X. I was 1980, and I know some people say Gen X goes to 79. I've been told Gen X goes to 83. I really don't care. I don't want to be a millennial, so I'll just say I'm Gen X. Because millennials are far worse. Far worse. But I'm at the tail end of Gen X. And I can tell you the people that were tail end, that my generation, my crowd that I grew up with, a lot of them sit there and go, I don't like I don't like Mark Carney. I wanted Pierre Poilievre to win the election. And then you say, oh, did you go out and vote? No, I don't like the system. My vote doesn't matter. It doesn't count. I don't understand. That's what my generation does. I just wanted this guy to win. Well, why didn't you get out and vote then? It doesn't matter. You sure about that? You sure about that now that we lost? You still want to say it doesn't matter? Oh, you don't understand the system, man. You don't understand the government. Holy shit, look at this. Society Unveiled came in. We may not have a normal country again until the boomers age out, if you know what I mean. Yeah, frick. Hey, can you guys go subscribe to Society Unveiled? I watch his shit all the time. God, he's got some good stuff. Some really good stuff. You guys think I don't cut around the edges? This guy. He hits it home every time. Has me in stitches. I love his channel. If you're going to support another YouTuber, go support this guy. This guy's got it spot on. Spot on. Thank you for the super. Thank you for the super. Thanks for popping in. Love that channel. Go check out. I've talked about Society Unveiled before. Go and check them out, guys. Max with the $10. I released the videos from John Carpe and Chris Sims. Full of information about C8, C9, C22, the MOU and the industrial carbon tax on my YouTube channel. Guys, and I keep saying it, if you want the live streams of all these town halls, these events, these facts, follow Max over at freedomcalendar.net as well. Max did a lot of work for the telethon. Ton of work for the telethon. It wouldn't have happened without him and without Critical Compass. Yeah, my God. I keep saying it, and I said it for anybody who gets mad that I say boomers, I said it to my father. Even though I've convinced him to sign up for independence, I told him, this world isn't going to be better until your generation dies off. And it makes him mad. It makes him mad. But the problem is I had to actually sit there and convince my father that independence was within his best interest. Because once again, like I've been saying this whole live stream, when I sat down with him and said, are you going to sign up for independence? He says to me, why? Why would I? Why would I bother? I don't have a problem with Canada. And when I start laying out to him, this is what your grandkids are going to be facing. This is what we're already facing. Look at your 28-year-old granddaughter who's getting married, who says, I'm never going to afford a house. Her and her husband live with his parents, and they're getting married because they can't afford rent. They both have jobs. They're living with his parents. Who here would get married while they're living with their parents? I'm not trying to put them on the spot either. I'm just trying to point it out. That's that generation. I had to say to my father, are you comfortable leaving that behind? Are you comfortable knowing that that's what you had the ability to change and you did nothing about it? And he finally came around and said, you know what, you got a point. Okay, fine. I'll sign up for independence. But that's why he gets mad when I say, God, you guys got to go before we're going to get change in our voting systems, in everything, in everything. And then maybe Gen X will have to go so we can get changes in other places too. I don't know. I'm just talking statistically because of what I see and what I hear when I'm watching videos all over YouTube with all these elderly people saying, I don't want to leave Canada. I like the old Canada. And none of them give you a reason to stay. None of them give you a viable reason. And the reason they don't is because it's all about them. It's about their life, how their life isn't affected. That's the point I'm trying to get at. It's not about boomers, zoomers, doomers, liberal boomers. I don't care. They get married when kids still live with their parents. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But those guys have crotch droppings. Somebody used to say, how long does it take them to have a shit? 9 months. On the beach. And this Gen Beta that started 2025 will be the new boomers, but worse. They're being indoctrinated. They're being told, go to your schools and think that you can chop off your bits. They're being told to accept clown society. Well, of course it's going to turn into that. Of course it's going to turn into that. They're being told, open your doors and accept this circus. Open your doors and bring in villagers from other countries, not families, not doctors, not lawyers, not people that are actually going to contribute. Open your doors and bring in a bunch of people that are going to steal your cars, shoot up your streets, assault your women, who aren't going to go to jail because they're not white. Right? That generation's going to be so screwed. And it's hilarious because my daughter doesn't want to bring her friends over to the house because dad's got political opinions. We had an event where, not an event, an evening where we took out my daughter and some of her friends to a Boston Pizza, and they sat there, and I was talking to my wife, it was something to do with taxes. And one of her friends says, "What are taxes?" And I said, "Theft." And then my daughter just goes, "Oh," because she knew what was coming. She knew what was coming. That generation's doomed. There it is. There it is. You should be pissed off. And this is where I say I shouldn't have to spell it out for people every single time. Not every senior is against independence, but a large portion of the ones that are fighting independence are seniors. Not every boomer is a problem. Not every person does the. You're beginning to piss me off. You should be pissed off at your own generation that can't see through the clouds. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at them. Why can't you open your eyes is what you should be asking them. Why can't you live in reality? Why are you so disconnected from the world? I actually broke off a friendship with one of my Gen X friends because, and I'd known the guy for 15 years, because he's so woke all of a sudden that as soon as he saw that I stood with independence, he says, "Oh, what are you? You're committing treason." I said, "When the hell did you become so woke? Why are you so?" And I cut him out of my life because I don't need to be around retards. But I questioned him and I said, how is it as a business owner? How is it as somebody who owns their own company, you can stand behind this government and you can stand behind this reality where you're raising your own children and say everything's fine? This guy supports the NDP, by the way. And I had to say, you're so friggin' woke. I can't be friends with you anymore. Just because it disgusts me. If you're mad that I'm talking about seniors, get mad at the seniors that are causing the problem and start telling them, pack your bags and get out of Alberta. Get out of Canada. There's people that are triggered because grocery stores are putting Alberta flags in the grocery stores. Oh, that's a sign of terrorism. It's a sign of the referendum. It's the beast. It's the sign of the beast. Shut up. Pack your shit and get out of Alberta. If you don't like where you live, if you don't like your flag, if you can't stand behind your flag, pack up and go. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. And when you're mad at seniors, yeah, you should get mad at your own generation and say, you're part of the problem. Take your investments, take your mortgage, sell your house, take your millions of dollars that you got on your equity and piss off. Go to Arizona. Oh, no, I don't want to say Arizona. I love Americans. Go to wherever. Yeah, around and around we go. Hey, Jay, go blow it out your ass. Okay? Go blow it out your ass. I am so done. So done. Oh, friends, you're ruining everything. Oh, yeah, I hate to talk about the truth. I hate to dare tell you the truth. I'm going to have to pull this live stream when it's over because it's just me sitting here bitching to my audience. Like, for crying out loud. No, you drop it. You drop it. Go get some Pampers. Go get some Pampers in a bottle. Go change your diaper. Go change your Depends. Piss off. So sick and tired of it. Just make your channel the way I want it. Cry me a river. Oh, I will. I will. There we go. I'm over it. Over it. I don't get paid enough for this shit. I don't get paid enough for this shit. I'm not your punching bag. Other YouTubers aren't your punching bag. If you don't like the way the world is, go change it. Go change it. Get off your ass. You go drive around Alberta. You go drive around the province and go to all these events and talk to people and listen to what people have to say and tell me that you're not disgusted by the way people are doing things. Just, you blew it out his ass? Yeah.
Go ahead and call your dads, tell them about your alternative lifestyle as a gay communist, and then who knows, maybe eat a lollipop. I don't know what flamers do with their time, but I'd imagine it's something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm going to get attacked all over social media and told that I'm a terrible person. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, like I said, I'll probably pull the stream when it's over because I don't want this sitting on my channel. I don't want it sitting on here. I don't mind these streams, honestly, because I like sitting here and chatting with you guys, but I'll probably pull it when it's down. So if anybody who says, hey, how come it's gone? That's why. It just isn't good for the channel. Freedom Calendar, $2 people from my generation, I'm 36, are just busy. They're living check to check. Snow with a $5, F these boomers, never had one that didn't try to screw me over. Okay, well, again, that's your opinion. I get it. I get it. There are boomers that I like. I have a problem with liberal boomers. I have a problem with retards. There's CB. CB's a boomer. He knows who the hell I'm talking about when I talk about boomers. I love CB. No homo. He's a great guy. They will all have a meltdown when the vote comes back from the referendum to leave. They'll be pissed. Yeah. I'm going to start calling them baby. They used to call them the baby boomer generation. Maybe we go back to baby boomers the way some of them behave. I got to get... hang on. Where's this meme? I got to get this meme back. See my Trump memes and stuff? I'm going to get this meme back on the channel for when everybody's complaining. We'll start bringing in this.
Shut up, bitch!
Oh, they cut it off at the end where The Rock says, shut up, bitch. I think we'll have to bring that in on the channel. Majority of my audience are boomers, like over 70%. It's the liberal boomers. They should all be called doomers. It's a good start. It's a good start, but there has to be a better way of saying it. Communists. I don't know. I don't know what we call them. I don't know what we call them. I just look, it gets tired. Look, I'm willing to admit as a Gen X when Gen X screws up. I even said it, 20 minutes ago? And that Jay Smoke idiot said the same thing. Oh, you were on a roll there. Yeah, because I wasn't talking about your generation, right? It was custom tailored to you. It was custom tailored to, my feelings. My feelings. I already said it. Gen X, we're the part of the biggest problem when it comes to voting. We sit on our asses and then bitch about who lost. Oh, this guy lost. Well, why didn't you go vote? Oh, I guess I don't like the system. Fuck the system. I don't like the system. That is a part of my generation. We're hypocrites. We're hypocrites. Baby bozos. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. They drink liberal tears. Maybe we have that. Gen X has been the majority of trades for the last 30 years. They have. There's a lot of red seals. Yeah. But do you know who taught them though? The boomers. So they're not all bad. Yeah, those liberal boomers are all hippies. What did we expect? Yes. And that's a good fact to point out. A lot of, and that's where I'm saying that you can ask them as much as you want. Give me one reason to stay in Canada. They'll never give you a reason. They'll never give you a solid reason that Canada should remain whole. They'll always tell you, well, it's because don't you love your country? Don't you love your maple leaf flag? Don't you love talking to Ahmed at Tim Hortons when you go through for your double-double? No! I don't like the smell. I don't like my beaches being pooped on. I don't like having garbage everywhere. I don't like living in a country where I'm told that people can break the law, and if you're not white, you get a free pass. This isn't Monopoly. You don't get a get out of jail free card. You break the law, you go to jail. They say, well, you're a racist. How could you say you got to go to jail if you break the law? You're a racist. I'm a racist now? What would you say if your own brother broke the law? He should go to jail. Yeah, but that's because he's white. That's because he's white. I'm just not doing it anymore. The hypocrisy and the lunacy that's going on is just appalling. I just can't deal with it. I can't deal with retards anymore. Don't forget about the road roulette. Oh, you guys want to see something great? I'm not sure if Society Unveiled touched this one yet, because it was all over. It was all over social media the other day. Have we had enough yet of this shit?
Thank you.
I know I mentioned Society Unveiled. If I missed that video, I apologize. I haven't been on YouTube a lot. Look, in the middle of a roundabout. A roundabout. This is a residential area. What's this guy doing with an 18-wheeler in a residential area? Look at this.
Thank you. Did you take the roundabout with you?
No, I went around it.
The entire middle of it is under your truck.
Then clearly it was not secured properly.
Okay.
A roundabout should not be movable.
It wasn't secured properly. A roundabout should not. They literally stand there and say, oh, I don't speak English. Every time this happens. Every time, or they give you some kind of stupid excuse. Oh, there you go. I got those ones for my Sunday show. Perfect. Perfect. I just, how do you, like, have we not had enough of this shit yet? A government that puts foreigners above their own people is by definition treasonous and illegitimate. Couldn't have said it better myself. Like, I mean... Right. Right. I hear you. I hear you. I don't want it either. I don't want it either. J-Law, thank you for the $14 super. Snow, $5 super. Gen X learned more from the greatest generation than ever did the boomers. Well, my father taught me a lot of great things, despite my fact that I hate that he's a boomer. My father's taught me a lot of stuff. He's taught me a lot about business. He's taught me a lot. I'm here with the opinions I have today because of the things my father taught me. My father taught me to stand behind my convictions. My father taught me to speak up if I say something that's bothering me. And my father also taught me that there's 3 arguments in life you're never going to win: religion, politics, and everything else. And that's no joke. That is literally the advice he gave me on my wedding day. He said, before you marry that woman, and he'd known my wife since we were 15 years old. He loves our family. My father loves my wife. But he jokingly said, before you marry that woman, I want to give you a piece of advice. There's 3 arguments in life you're never going to win: religion, politics, and everything else. Best advice I ever got. And yes, my father's a boomer. people got to realize in life that no matter what happens in your life, people are going to say things that trigger you. There's going to be things you don't agree with. There's going to be things you don't like. But if you're not prepared to look at the facts behind them, if you're not prepared to actually examine the entire situation, when I look at Alberta independence, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, forget Carney, forget Trudeau, we just want to get out of here. I look at it from a broader scale. How did we get here? What caused all of this to happen? And when you go back and you look at Alberta's history, there's a lot of behavior. A lot of it came up in the 70s and 80s through Trudeau Sr., through the National Energy Program, through the mistreatment of Alberta, that you start going, yeah, you know what? We've kind of been taken advantage of for a while. It's not just Justin Trudeau. It's not just Mark Carney or scandalous governments. That has made a large contribution to the problem. But how did we get here? Well, people got complacent. People got in line with the status quo. They tried electing Harper. It didn't fix their problems. Then they made excuses. Then it was Pierre's going to come and save us. None of that has helped or fixed our problems. So when you go out and you start seeing people who have been through that gauntlet, people who have lived through those times saying, no, Canada should just remain whole, what I'm saying is that generation has a significant amount of people, not all of them, but a significant amount of people who are looking at the hamster wheel and not seeing it for what it is, a uniparty, a theater, a circus, all for show, a business. They're looking at it and saying, oh, this is just because it's a liberal government. If we get a conservative government, those things will change. It doesn't change. Nothing will change. If you don't believe me, let's talk about Danielle Smith for a second. Here were her urgent demands for the next prime minister. Guaranteeing Alberta full access to oil and gas corridors to the north, east, and west. How's that working out? Repealing Bill C-69, the No New Pipelines Act. Still there. Lifting the tanker ban off the BC coast. Still there. Eliminating the oil and gas emissions cap, which is a production cap. Still there. In fact, we've just agreed with an MOU to do more of that. Carbon-sucking machines. Scrapping the so-called clean energy regulations. Those are still there. Ending the prohibition on single-use plastics. Paper straws are still at restaurants as far as I'm concerned. Abandoning the net zero car mandate. Nope, that's still there. In fact, we're buying Chinese EVs that cost $160,000. Returning oversight of the industrial carbon tax to the provinces. Didn't happen. Halting the federal censorship of energy companies. Survey says 0. No export tax or restrictions on Alberta's oil and gas to the U.S. Hasn't happened. No more subsidies from Alberta to self-sufficient provinces. Marty up north highlighted this one. You know why? Because yesterday Danielle Smith says, well, I think we still need to pay subsidies to other provinces, but only to a certain level. Then some of that money can come back to Alberta. No, you said no more subsidies from Alberta to self-sufficient provinces. This is why I said Danielle pulled a 180. Would the real Danielle Smith please stand up? Fixing federal mismanagement of Jasper and Banff National Parks. Nothing has happened. Yet Premier Smith said just over a year ago, these were the demands of the Alberta government or they would face a unity crisis. And now she's actively campaigning against Albertans to stay in Canada. And none of those have been dealt with. But she stands up with Mark Carney and says, oh, isn't this MOU wonderful? Hey, we're building houses that the government has to purchase. Isn't it wonderful to have the government in control of our housing? Isn't it wonderful that even though they say they're going to do these things, they never get built? Isn't it wonderful, folks, that we can all just stay in Canada and have more sovereignty? What sovereignty have we got? What are you talking about? All of this hasn't been dealt with. You're literally pulling a Mark Carney. You're telling us things are better than they've ever been before, yet nothing's been done. Nothing has been done. You're doing what Mark Carney does. Oh, we're building all these things. Oh, we have a special projects office. We have all these. Oh, all these projects have been greenlit. No shovels in the ground. Nothing's being built. Nothing's being done. Danielle Smith. Oh, things are better than they've ever been before. Nothing has been handled out of this list. Nothing. Again, Janet Jackson said it in the 1980s. What have you done for me lately? Okay, you banned rainbow flags at schools. You got graphic images out of school libraries. I appreciate that, but what else have you done? What else have you done? You talked about a unity crisis. Unity crisis here now. It's here. And you've got people that are cheerleading Danielle, even though that list hasn't been addressed. You've got people cheerleading her saying, oh, stop giving her a hard time, Fringe. She's doing what she can. You're just mad because she's not pushing for independence. No, I'm pissed off because I voted for this shit. And I'm not getting what I voted for. I did my part. I went out and put a ballot in the ballot box with an X on it, and I was promised things that I didn't get. I'm not happy. There it is. Danielle's still on our side. There's a method to what seems madness. Think about it. I have thought about it. How? How am I supposed to sit back and say this is okay? How am I supposed to sit back when she just said, let's open the door to 40,000 immigrants a year yesterday? Do you want this? Where is it? Do you want this in Alberta? Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Do you want this in Alberta? Every year? Every year? Nobody coming with wives or children. More villagers. What is the method to the madness? Please explain it to me, because clearly I'm missing something. What is, where was it? Where was it? Gail? I will fully apologize if you could explain. Think about it. You must have the answers. Please tell me the answer, Gail. I would really like to know what the method to this madness is. Because I don't see it. Marty up north doesn't see it. Corey Morgan said he can't make excuses for her anymore. People are actually giving up on Premier Smith. So if there's a method to this that nobody is seeing, who's been watching this stuff for years, please put it in the chat. I would love an explanation, because I would really love to not be so negative on this. No, Smith is not at the negotiating table when we leave. She's not a part of those negotiations. She's like an ambassador. She literally just organizes them, or is in charge of maintaining the province until the negotiations are complete. She's not at the table. I'll tell you who will go to the table: Keith Wilson, and he'll nail it out of the park. J-Law, $7 super sent money before. Forgot to write something. I'm a boomer and still learning. I love your shows and watch them every day. I'm excited for independence. I am too. Thank you for the support. JP, Alberta First, $20 reference, Elon meme. In Indonesia, as a foreigner, in a vehicle accident as a foreigner, you're automatically in the wrong and liable, even if you are a passenger in a cab. If you weren't there, it wouldn't have happened. Okay, well, that's Indonesia. Are you saying we should have that in Canada too? I don't think foreigners should have driver's licenses if they're not properly licensed. Again, where's the government shutting those down? The CBC, of all places, exposed those trucking schools. I don't see them getting shut down. We're seeing more East Indian truck drivers than ever. I'll tell you right now, being in Spruce Grove, we live on the Yellowhead, the Highway 16. It runs from here all the way through to Saskatchewan into Manitoba. It runs into the BC mountains, and trucks are on there every day. I avoid that highway like the plague, because it's full of 18-wheelers, and they're always swaying all over the road. They're always all over the place. I've seen countless trucks in the ditch just going into Edmonton. I refuse that highway as much as possible. Alberta Sparky, $5. Those wanting to stay in old Canada should realize Alberta independence is the only way to keep it. Or if their vision of another Canada is what they have in places like Ontario, go move to Ottawa. Go live in Toronto. Go vote for their madness. Go live in the zoo. So here's the explanation. She's playing Carney. Can't you see that Carney's becoming more unpopular by the day? She's helping the fence sitters. $137 million for motorcycles to a third world country. People are getting mad. But she's contributing to it. She's agreeing with it. See, I'd believe that, Gail, if Danielle Smith would have said from day one, Albertans want a voice. I warned the government of a unity crisis. Their unity crisis is here. They didn't want to tackle the laws that we asked them to change. So now I am going to allow for a vote on October 19th. That's all she had to say. But the fact that she stood up and said, I am fighting for a united Canada within a sovereign Alberta, you're campaigning against the very people that want change. You're campaigning against the people who gave you your mandate. And I will tell you, Gail, after talking to Premier Smith off camera, before and after my softball interview that people keep saying I had with her, even though I asked her a lot of questions that she doesn't get asked elsewhere, she's made it very apparent to me that, no, she's pro-Canada. She is pro-Canada. I can't say what was said off camera because that's off the record. But what I am saying is you're having a hard time convincing me with this comment. And I don't mean to offend you, Gail. I'm simply saying that I don't buy that Danielle is secretly playing the other. Her votes, her popularity has been destroyed amongst UCP voters. All that to get at Carney? I don't think so. I don't buy it. Yeah, we should have it in Canada, the new Republic of Alberta. Okay. Well, I'm assuming that's talking about somebody else. I'm never wrong. Gatekeepers don't care about us peons. No. I'll tell you what I do think is happening. No, I'm not picking my nose. I'm scratching it. I have an itch. I'm not gnawhead and edgy. Hey man, I can only wait. Alberta's independence can't come fast enough. I'm done with Canada. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody recognizes it. Yes. Redemption. No, she's not bringing in 1.6 million foreign workers. No, she just said yesterday we should bring in 40,000 a year, like Quebec. Should I bring that up? I could bring that up. Here's Marty up north. Dear Premier, please explain to us why you want to increase Alberta's population. Are you still hanging on to the fantasy that a bigger population will give us a bigger voice in Confederation? It won't.
To offer them permanent residency. At the moment, we only have 6,400 spots. I think we've got 40,000 people who have sought permanent residency from us. And so that's why I think we need a bit of a better balance. Quebec is able to choose about 45,000 of their permanent residents through a different program. And so if you're looking at the scale, we think that we need to be able to have more autonomy to do that. And then that would allow us to address some of the pressures that we're hearing about in the news, and also make sure that those who go through those programs with the hope of getting permanent residency, as long as we can identify a pathway where there's a job that is one that cannot be filled by an Alberta worker, then I think that we can work with the federal government to find more opportunities for us to make those choices.
Okay. So devil's advocate, she's talking about jobs having to be available before we can do those programs, but she's talking about more unity, like Quebec, that there's 40,000 people. So for a second here, try and understand what I'm saying and follow me for a second here. She just said there's 4,000 people that are trying to come into Alberta right now. How's the job situation in Alberta with 4,000 people trying to come in? Is everybody in Alberta having an easy time finding a job? How's your local Tim Hortons looking? How's different jobs looking around the country or the province? There aren't any jobs. And she's talking about 4,000 people coming in. So what she added to that comment was, we need to be more like Quebec so that if there's jobs, we can bring those people in. The pressure is still on from the Canadian government to say, you're bringing people into Alberta. You have to do your fair share, your fair load. So Danielle's saying it's unfeasible for us to bring in 4,000 people, and there's 10 times the amount trying to stay here. There's students currently on a supposed hunger strike in Calgary because they came here hoping to get into a scam program for fast-track citizenship, and they were denied that and told to take their education and go home. And they don't want to leave. In fact, they basically said to Kean Bexty yesterday, without saying it, they were just silent about it, that they won't go home if they're told to leave. So Danielle Smith wants us to bring in potentially 10 times the amount of people, or at least vet them for Alberta jobs. There are no jobs. How can you say she's playing Mark Carney when she's talking about bringing in more of this? 80% of UCP voters voted to end immigration. They want the brakes put on immigration. They don't want to increase who we're bringing to the country. They want it to stop. Where's the Ralph Klein? Where's the Peter Lougheed coming in here with Danielle Smith to say no more? We don't want it anymore. Stop bringing people in. There's no jobs. There's no houses for them. There's no anything. They're inflating the cost of our housing because they're getting government money to sit on their tails. And they're buying up properties because 16 of them live in a house. So when houses are $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, it's because these guys are all pooling their resources. It's the same thing I say at grocery stores. My wife keeps saying, why is food so expensive? Because we keep paying for it. We don't have a choice. People should start living bare bones on their groceries. Basic things, soups, breads, small things, so that other products are sitting on the shelves rotting. Allow the meat to go bad. Allow the chicken to go bad. Allow all of it to expire and spoil. All their produce. Is it healthy? No. But we have to start making a stand. So that grocers say, we have all this overhead. We have all this food. Nobody's buying it because it's too friggin' expensive. It's just going to continue. It's going to continue. Round and around we go. I got all this dry skin on my face. It keeps peeling off. Gross. Sorry, guys. We're on basic food for that reason. I get it. We do a lot of things at home now. Like we'll buy like a $2 box of pasta and we'll make our own macaroni and cheese at home. Or we'll make our own cheap meals out of basics, not the prepackaged stuff. Not, I'll tell you what, we got a brand new barbecue this year, and I've used it maybe like 5 or 6 times since April, and it's almost August. I probably used it 5. Yep. I should be out there barbecuing every day. I'm not, because I don't want to buy that stuff. I don't want to support that industry. I don't want to tell the grocers it's okay to charge that. Snow with a $5 unfun fact. Your insurance rates are so high because Alberta doesn't allow companies to refuse to insure shitty drivers. My broker told me that last week. You know, I actually changed my insurance. So I was talking to people before about how my insurance company screwed up my wife's insurance. Yeah, this dead skin keeps falling on my mouth. I'm sorry, guys. I should get chapstick or something when I'm on the air. Here's what happened with the insurance, and I'll try and do it as quickly as possible. When we lived in Calgary, my wife worked in the downtown core. She never saw the reason for a driver's license. She never wanted a driver's license. She went and got her license in 2020 during the pandemic because we'd had our 3rd child. She says, I'm probably gonna have to start going to, concerts, school things, doctor's appointments, different things. I should get a driver's license so it's not just one vehicle, one person driving everybody around. So she went and got her license. So from 2020 to 2026, we told the insurance company, put my wife on the insurance. Every year our policy auto-renewed. We just paid our premiums and on we went. Now, when we moved to Spruce Grove, they asked me, would you like to put your wife on the insurance as a primary driver? I said, yeah, I told you to do that 5 years ago. And they said, whoopsie. Oh, we thought you just meant as a part-time driver. No, I said, put her as a primary. The vehicle that was purchased under her name. She's the primary. Oh, sorry, we screwed that up. Can you fix it? Nope. So currently we're paying as though she's a brand new 16-year-old driver. Our premiums are through the roof. Our insurance for our home and 2 vehicles was $10,200 a year. And my insurance company, which was Intact Insurance in Alberta, wanted to raise my rates to $10,900 this year, even though clean records, no tickets, no claims, no accidents. That's over $900 a month for insurance. $900 a month for insurance. You know what they told me when I called them and said, I want this problem rectified. I've been here for 12 years. I want something fixed. You know what she said to me? It's Alberta. So what? It's Alberta. We have the largest or the highest insurance rates. That's not, it's the same as people saying, why do you want to stay in Canada? Because it's Canada. That's not an answer. And then they just said, I said, well, then I'm going to go shop around. And if I find cheaper insurance, I'm leaving. If you don't want to fix this, if I'm going to pay through the nose, I'll pay through the nose to a brand new company that hasn't screwed me over. She said, good luck. You're going to find the same, if not worse, everywhere else. You're stuck, she said. Within an hour and a half, I called back and canceled my insurance. I went with another company, which a viewer actually recommended to me. And now I'm only paying, instead of $950 a month for insurance, we went down to $780. Still high, but I'm saving a couple $1,000s a year. And like I said, if I'm going to pay through the nose, I'll pay to somebody else. And when I called that insurance company and said, I'm not paying it anymore, she started telling me, well, there's Indian truck drivers, there's all these things, all these accidents, somebody's got to pay for them. There's been a lot of claims this year. I'm not paying for foreigners to come to the country and screw up my insurance rates. Sorry, that's on them. Just like JP said, that if you get into an accident, you're screwed up. And I told Intact when I was on the phone, for anybody who says, oh, now you're blasting Intact, I told Intact, I'm a YouTuber. I've got 160,000 subscribers. We've actually been talking about the insurance rates. And I said, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that your company sucks ass and not to go with Intact Insurance. And they said, oh, no, that's too bad. And they laughed. Sorry, guys, that's 12 years. 12 years. And that was what we got from them. I'm not paying for foreign accidents. I have a clean driving record. I should be treated as a good driver. I've had my license for almost 30 years. I got my license when I was 17 years old. I've had my license for 29 years. No problems. No accidents. None that were my fault anyways. Had a couple of accidents, but foreigners. No lie. Foreigners hit my vehicles. Here's the reality, folks. You're always told things are going to get more expensive and to just shut up and deal. And the reason the houses are as expensive as they are is because they can charge those amounts. If people stop buying them, they wouldn't be able to charge those amounts for houses. The economy would collapse. The market would collapse. If people just said, I'm not going to, but the problem is we've gotten into this little carousel where rent is more than owning a home, or it's around the same. So it doesn't matter whether you rent or whether you own. You can't stay off of the market and say, I'll just rent for a little while. And, you know, if houses aren't sold, it affects the market. The problem is that Danielle Smith and others who open the doors, who say people can come in here from other countries and flood our markets and get government money, pool their resources together and buy houses, those are the ones affecting your homes. Because they're willing to pay $900,000, $1 million. And drive BMWs. You ever notice at the food banks? They got video footage all the time. People at the food banks driving Lexuses. Or an Infiniti. Pulling up to the food bank. Oh, we need food for this. I'm sorry, if you pull up in a luxury vehicle to the food bank, you should be told, go sell your car to get groceries. Go get a Honda Civic. Sell your Infiniti and go get a Honda Civic and you can afford groceries. Those people shouldn't be permitted to go to the food bank. I just can't anymore. I don't think Smith was offered anything. I think what's happening is that you've seen, because somebody, like we were talking earlier about, you know, she's playing Mark Carney. Jason Kenney recently called out Pierre Poilievre for not slamming on supply management. I've told you guys for ages, we already knew Jason Kenney is vying for Pierre Poilievre's job. I think Danielle Smith is going to run for Pierre Poilievre's job as well. I think she sees the writing on the wall. I think she knows she's done in Alberta after this whole debacle with independence and her 180. And I think what she's going to do is try to take Pierre's job. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's where we're headed. They have their own food banks. Well, they didn't when I lived in Calgary. When I lived in Calgary, they were lined up at the food bank in the southeast. every day. You always saw a lineup of cars. And I remember, because I used to pick my wife up when she worked downtown sometimes, so she didn't have to get on the train and be next to that smell and everything else. If I had nothing going on, I'd say, oh, I'll get the kids and I'll come pick you up. We'd usually, stop at McDonald's for the kids or something, even though I know people are going to say, don't feed that shit to your kids. We try not to. But once in a while, kids need a break, right? Kids need something to smile about. But, yeah, Gail, you can explain it to me all you like. I'm still going to have my opinion, though. I've spoken. The problem is that you're not going to get through to me because I've spoken to Premier Smith off camera and personally. And I don't believe what you're telling me. I'm not going to buy it. So I'll save you the time of putting something together. Actions will speak louder than words. I'll be critical until she shows me otherwise. But yeah, the food banks, we'd always pass the food banks. There's a huge lineup of cars every time. And it was always, BMWs, Lexuses, Infinities, either way, Mercedes, you'd see them all. And then people that were actually struggling. Nenchi's not going to win. He's not going to win. What's going to happen, and again, don't bookmark this because, like I said, I'm deleting the stream after it's done. Because it's kind of a nothing stream, but I still enjoy. I always tell people in my videos I enjoy talking to this community, and this is why I wanted to come on. I enjoy talking to you guys. What's going to happen? What I feel is going to happen is that October 19th will come and go, and there will be either a vote at the AGM in November, or an SGM will be held because Danielle may run federally, or the people will have had enough, and we'll just have to pick somebody to interim over Premier Smith, the same as she did with Jason Kenney. And there are people available that are far greater than Danielle that believe in independence. Jeff Rath, Mitch Sylvester have named quite a few that we could put in place of Danielle Smith that actually are prepared to act within the interests of Albertans. And Nenchi isn't going to win. He's not going to win. He doesn't stand a hope in hell of winning. Danielle Smith is doing what she knew was the law of obedience under the Queen of England. Now, if Alberta manages to leave, the Crown has no authority over Alberta, then who would we pick for as a leader? Well, again, there are people put forward. I've said it before. I think Keith Wilson should run to be the next leader of an independent Alberta, at least until we find somebody we like. Usually when you elect these leaders, they're usually, lawyers or developers or other bureaucrats. I think Keith Wilson would do a fantastic job. I've known Keith for a few years now. I've known his family for a while, and I can tell you right now, and it's the most hypocritical statement, he's the most honest lawyer I've ever met. Anytime that I'm worked up about something, I'll tell you right now, I can talk to Keith. I'm calm within seconds. I am a spitfire. I don't know if people know this. I kind of flip out sometimes when I get outraged about things. Keith Wilson can immediately calm that. He can tame the Hulk. He's like everybody's dad. He has a cool head and a cool temperament. I am so grateful to call him a friend. I am so grateful to know a person like that in my life. And I've been incredibly honored and humbled to work alongside him during this process. I don't think I've ever worked around anybody that I respect more than Keith Wilson. But when I see the conviction that he portrays, when I hear what he has to say, he truly loves Alberta. He loves people, and he's rational. And that's what we need. Somebody who's not afraid to tell it like it is, who's rational, who can think on the spot and can get results. It's I know we joke around on the channel that I'd put my hat in the ring to run for what off. It's just theater, folks. I don't have the temperament to be a leader. I'd upset all the boomers. We know that already. I'd happily work within a government if I was given that opportunity in a new government. I would love to stand up for what people need or what people are looking for in their constituencies, but I could never run as a leader. I don't have the leadership qualities that Keith Wilson has. I would stake any reputation, any respect that people have for me on Keith Wilson to say that he's the guy for the job. Tanya Clemens is, yeah, either or, one of the two. Tanya, Keith Wilson said it. She's like a warm blanket. He says that when people are freezing, you throw that warm blanket on, fixes the situation, fixes the problem. Tanya is that. She is just as good as Keith Wilson. I would happily live in a place under their leadership, either one of their leaderships, or as a president, vice president. I think I would be yelling, "Are you retarded?" all the time. I would be yelling it all the time. But see, where Keith is calm-headed, where he's more cool and collective, where he just says, "No, this isn't how things work. This is how it's going to be." I'd be the guy on the phone saying, "Go blow it out your ass." I'd be the Ralph Klein. I would be, I'd be Ralph Klein 2.0, like a level above what Ralph Klein was. I wouldn't be afraid to sit there and give the middle finger to the cameras. I wouldn't be afraid to shy away and tell Mark Carney to go blow it out his ass. I would be very brash. I don't know if now's the time where people need brash. I think what people need now is a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm happy to take charge. I'm happy to lead a charge, but I am not a cool-headed, calm, and collective leader. Keith would make a great statesman. Keith would make a lot of good things. We are so grateful and so lucky to have Keith. As a leader, some people may see me as harsh. I would fire all of those woke wingnuts in government with government positions. A lot of people would like to do that. I'd be doing that. I told you guys, and I joked around on the stream a couple of weeks ago when I said, "You don't want me in charge of Alberta." You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You'd like it at first, but eventually you'd be like, "Okay, the guy's on a bit of a power trip," because I would be cleaning house. I would be cleaning house. As soon as somebody said, "Well, my rights and this is how I identify," shut up, get out. Nope, done. It'd be like a ban button for the streams, but in real life. Just get out. What about all these immigrants that want to come here? Tell them to get out. Nope, unless you're bringing a job with you, get out. Nope, you're not coming in here. You're not coming in. But they bought houses. Good, sell them. Put them up for auction. Get them out of here. Take the truck to their house, put them in the truck, take them to the airport, put them on a plane, sell their house, send them compensation. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, just get them out of here. I don't want it. No more. No more. It's not happening. What about their rights? Here, give them a coupon for Wendy's on the way to the airport. Get them out of here. That's their rights. Get out. You're going. My problem is that throughout the time that I've spent, not just on YouTube, but around politicians, watching how this system works in the background, I just can't stand it anymore. I don't want a part of that system. I want a new system. I want an authoritative system that doesn't put up with any bullshit. You break the law, you go to jail. And you don't just go to jail for like a couple hours. You go long term. And I'm not talking prison. I'm talking like toss the salad prison. You assault women, I'm going to put you in jail with a bunch of guys that men look very good to them. Fresh meat. That's where you're going to go. You're going to go somewhere where you're going to have done to you what you did to somebody else. And when you come out, you're not going to be walking straight. And you'll think twice before doing it again. And if you're from another country, all those bad things will happen to you. And then when you get out, we'll put you on a plane and send you home. That's how I'd do it. That's how I'd do it. And see all the people who say, well, I want welfare. Why? Because I just want to get the new iPhone and sit around and watch YouTube all day. No. Nope. If you get welfare, it's temporary. We're going to have people checking on you. If you're abusing the system, you're instantly cut off. Not 2 weeks, not 10 days notice. You're cut off. Assistance are for people that actually need it. And why are we doing it that way? Well, because those who have disabilities need proper funding. They need to be looked after. And not people who say, well, I'm depressed, so that's a disability. No, it's not. Here's a free counselor. Go deal with your issues. You can get a job like everybody else. You can contribute. What if they only want to watch The Fringe? They're not getting welfare. Watch me. Watch me all day long. Watch me and fantasize you want to be just like me. Go right ahead. Not having any part of it. We need a jail system like the new president did in El Salvador. Nick Shirley has a great video. It's not the safest country in South America. It's now the safest country in South America. What you need are people who are not going to put up with the bullshit anymore. My feelings are hurt. Good. Take your hurt feelings and piss off. Somebody like Doug Ford, you need to be pro Team Canada. No, I'm pro bank account. I'm pro prosperity. I'm pro making sure my people aren't starving to death. Hey, Doug Ford, take your booze, take your stupid politics and shove off. Take your empty threats of us shutting off the taps and go home. You're not getting my help. That's what I tell them. You're not getting anything from me. What have you done for me lately? Start being like President Trump. Oh, Alberta, we need your oil. We need your products. We need your help. Oh, yeah. What are you going to give me? What do you have? Nothing. So why am I helping you? Just because I'm being nice? Just out of the goodness of my heart? So I can have the warm fuzzies? No, there's a transaction involves both parties benefiting. There's give and take. What do you have that I need? If the answer is nothing, then you're going to pay a premium for what you need from me. That's how businesses work. Nothing is free. I just want to come to your country so I can stay here and study. Oh, you want to come study Alberta? You want to come study what we have in Alberta? You can come and study here, but you're going to wear this ankle bracelet. Like the police? Yep. You're going to put this ankle bracelet on so we know where you are at all times because you're not a citizen of my country. And when you're done with your studies, we're going to come take that ankle bracelet off and drive you to the airport. And you're going to go home. You're going to go home. You're not buying property. You're not allowed to buy property while you're here. In fact, you're going to live in a government-designated dorm. You can pay a small portion of rent. You can get a job, temporary job, if there's one available. And when it's all done, we're going to come, get your ankle bracelet, and put you on a plane and take you to the airport. And we're going to watch you leave the country. That's what I'd do. What about all the resources for that? How's it going to pay for that? If we're not funding their welfare and giving them free money every month, we can most afford to do that. Sure, I'll give you your rights. You can come here and study. You can come get an education, and you're going to go home and enrich your country with that education. You're not taking over my culture. You're not taking over my home. Every province, every country, every place in the world should be worried about their own identity, their own culture, and their people first. It's nice to be the hero. It's nice to come sailing in and say, oh, you have a problem? We'll help. It's nice to say, look, we're going to be an example to the rest of the world. But do it after you've looked after your own people. Do it after you've made things better for those around you. You don't get to spend other people's money fixing the problems of the world that are out of your control and then tell everybody to be poor and enjoy it. That's not how a country should function. That's not how your home should function. The only thing I have left is my vote in October. Then get out there and vote like your life depends on it, because it does. If we lose that vote in October, we're screwed. Because I'll tell you, like I said earlier when I was showing you that house in Texas we saw, and my daughter says, "You're not going to make us move, are you?" Yeah, we might have to. If Alberta fails this, we might have to. And not because I don't love Alberta. I love Alberta. I love Alberta so much. It is beautiful here. The people here, for the most part, are great. I don't want to leave. But if my country is going to be taken over by communism, if my culture is going to be erased, if my children don't have a future, I have to go where they're going to be able to prosper. I have to leave. I don't have a choice. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Nonetheless, folks, I've been rambling for 3 friggin' hours. I'm going to cut the stream. And again, I'll be erasing the stream when it's done. I don't want this negativity sitting on YouTube. But I want to thank everybody who came and hung out, because this is, again, why I enjoy sitting and talking with you guys. This is why I enjoy doing these things on the channel. From time to time, it's good to get a consensus. And hey, we punted a angry boomer. It was good. Good, fun times. I still won't be saying boomer on the channel. People say stand behind. No, I'm not going to say it. I'll come up with another way of talking about things, but I'm not going to say boomer anymore. I'm not going to live with it on my head that people are saying I'm destroying the independence movement. So hang out with us. Again, I'll have a video out probably in the next 30 minutes. So keep your eyes on the channel. I'll have a video coming out today. Make sure to watch that video. Hit a thumbs up and a comment. It's going to help us more than ever with YouTube censoring these days. Join me tomorrow with Mrs. Fringe. We're going to have a fun stream. It's part of the reason I wanted to do this stream today was because Daisy saying don't cut it. I have to. There was a lot of bitching and moaning in here. I don't want people thinking I'm whining on the internet. Join me tomorrow, because I wanted to do the stream today so that tomorrow is a fun stream. Fridays are always fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there tomorrow. Fresh set of eyes on things. And guys, I still call them baby bozos. Maybe that's what we'll stick with. We'll find something. Nonetheless, guys, have a great rest of your day. Stick around for the next half hour. I'll have a video out for you. Join me tomorrow with Mrs. Fringe. It's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you to everybody for everything. And I'll catch you on the next one in about half an hour. Take care.